Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Kakashi trains Team 7 like Anbu Sasuke bashing. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by VirgoAthenaPurple and link in the description and support writer. Let's start the video. Kakashi was his usual self, flipping through his Icha novel, humming a tune to himself while walking towards the Hokage Tower where the Sandaime waited. He sensed the chakra natures of everyone in the shinobi village, expertly making his way around all of his fellow jonin and mentally cheers as he makes it past Guy, despite the green beast being on the other side of the village. "Okage-sama," Kakashi chimes, walking inside without a warning. "You called." The old man sighed. "You should learn how to knock, Kakashi." "Meh," Kakashi shrugged, "knockings for genin and civis. Alerting you before they come are chunin and jonin. I'd usually take the window, but then Kurenai would see me, so nah." "Typical," the Sandaime shook his head, "now, about the graduating academy students." Kakashi nods, shutting his book close. The copy nin isn't usually seen without his perverted book, but Hiruzen was content with the fact that Kakashi was willing to pay attention. Sometimes the Haddock was a tiny bit selective when it comes to paying attention to people. "Your new team," the Hokage's eyes turned dark, "you have to pass them." "Huh?" Kakashi blinked. "This is my genin team, don't I get to choose if they pass or not?" "Political pressure," Hiruzen grumbles, "worst thing in the world." "Political pressure." Kakashi repeated. "Screw it. If they aren't qualified, they aren't qualified. End of story." The Sandaime let out a little kai, or otherwise known as killing intent. Kakashi. It wasn't to freak the man out, but it was a warning. Kakashi's been through much worse than an old man's kai, even if the old man was the Hokage and known as the most powerful Kage of his generation. Kakashi sighed, massaging his temple. "Do I have permission to whip them into shape?" Hiruzen nods slowly. "You have to. With the Uchiha survivor, the Yondaime's son and the rich Haruno heiress, they have high expectations on them. You're the only one suited for this." "What, so anbu training is okay?" "Not that. They're still children, Kakashi. They're not that young." Kakashi pointed out. "I joined anbu just a year older than them." Hiruzen rolled his eyes, taking in a breath of smoke. "We're not at war or anything, Kakashi." Dismissed. Kakashi Haddock, 009720, Jonin. And when he finished identifying himself, the ninja saunters back out of the office, waving a hand in farewell. Hiruzen inhales another mouthful of his tobacco. The Sandaime's chakra spiked and a guarding anbu member was instantly by his side, the window flung wide open. "Yes, Hokage-sama." The Sandaime narrowed his eyes. "Make sure no one enters training ground 22. "Yes, Hokage-sama." The anbu paused. "May I ask why?" The old man sighed, closing his eyes. "I think our top shinobi needs to blow off some steam. Anyone caught in the collective damage will take responsibility, don't say I didn't warn you." It was normal for Kakashi to blow off some steam. It was just man's gone through a lot and one of the things he hated the most was being a pawn with his decisions being decided by someone else. Despite what others think, the most prominent reason why Kakashi's dropped all of his former teams was because he didn't want them to be pressured into something they didn't want to do. Being part of the Team 7 legacy meant that a lot of attention was on the members and that was something Kakashi wanted to be avoided. "Righto," Kakashi I smiled, "my cute little genin. Let's do this." In front of the jonin stood freshly graduated academy students, Sasuke Uchiha, Naruto Uzumaki and Sakura Haruno. The one thing they had in common. That they were tired, somehow being kept up at night by some weird puppy who demanded attention. "You all look tired." Kakashi raises an eyebrow. Naruto groaned. "There was this freaking annoying dog and what's its name kept me up all night long." "Me too." Sakura exclaimed. "Wretched dogs." Sasuke agreed. Kakashi smiled and the three genin hopes soared, maybe their first training day wasn't going to so hard and all three of them ate dirt a split second later. Kakashi stood over them, a stormy look on his face. "What kind of shinobi complained after one sleepless night? I need to teach you quite a lot, it seems. First lesson. Never complain." "Understood." He never understood this declining academy education. When he was back in there, part of the graduation exam was you had to stay awake for 72 hours without rest. What was going on inside of that academy nowadays? None of them responded, too busy rolling around on their stomachs, gasping for breath. Kakashi inhaled, letting out a small dose of kai, just to shock them out of their pain. "I said, understood." All three of them squeaked, "Understood, sensei." "Good." Kakashi hauled all three of them up and expertly tied them upside down before any of them even realized what happened, making sure that all three of them were unarmed and had no way of getting out. "Now, we're going to have a psychology session today. We're going to take turns saying something honest that you know no one else knows." "What?" Sakura tried to turn her head the right way around but ended up swinging and knocking into Naruto's face, who in turn kneed Sasuke in the stomach. "Oh no." Sasuke hissed. "That was uncalled for." "Sorry." Sakura pleaded. "I didn't mean it." "I'll go first." Kakashi offers. "Usually I do a team assessment to decide if a genin team is worth it or not, but I didn't this time." "Why?" "Because I was ordered by the Hokage to pass the three of you due to some political pressure." All three genin shut up. Naruto was the first to speak after a moment of silence. "Ordered to pass us. Correct." Kakashi I smiled. "Now, who's next?" "How about you breeding a che?" Sasuke scowled. "Why do I have to do this childish little?" "Because I said so." Kakashi smiled, but it was bordering on a dangerous line. The genin gulp. Kakashi usually didn't be so mean at his subordinates, but something made the Sandaime order him to pass the team, and Kakashi was frustrated. And this team was like the scraps and leftovers of the graduating academy class this year, which is something that Kakashi needed to change. What was lesson number 1 again, yellow? Naruto exchanged glances with Sakura. Me? Yes, you. Never complain. Don't say it like a question, please. Never complain. Kakashi turned to Sasuke, his charcoal black eye boring into Sasuke's. "Now, you hear that? Don't complain, you little brat. You've only passed because I was ordered to pass you." Sasuke spat out a mouthful of blood, his face already swelling up. "Hi, sensei." "Good." Kakashi let go of Sasuke and the boy gasped as his back hit the tree with a small bang. "Now, it's your turn." Even Sasuke didn't disobey. "I want to kill my brother." Kakashi yawned. "Already knew that." "Next." Sasuke scowled, turning pink. "I like tomatoes." "That's wonderful." Kakashi smiled. "Obnoxious orange fox, it's your turn." Naruto again was uncertain. That's you." Kakashi nods. Well, I sometimes get beaten up by villagers." Naruto cried, ratting off the first thing on his tongue. "None of you knew that, Dadabeo." Kakashi's kai leaked. "You sometimes get what by who?" "I get beaten up by some villagers when I'm alone." Naruto repeated, his voice getting smaller and smaller as Kakashi's kai increased, making the air turn frigid and charged with electricity. It was a theory that if your chakra reserves were large enough, even by releasing some kai, you'll also subconsciously leak chakra into the atmosphere and change the air according to your chakra nature. It wasn't a question. It was demand. The person who dared lay a hand on his sensei's child was going to go to hell. Some guy named Kayasuke and his gang. I swear. They're the usual ones. Kakashi nods, his kai suddenly disappearing and the air turning normal. The Jonin I smiles. "Your turn, Sakura-chan." Haruno felt a shiver go down her spine. I'm the unwanted child ever since my brother came back from his business trip." "That was new." Kakashi nods. "Now it's my turn." He settles down on the ground comfortably, much to his dangling genin's horror. "My honest impression of you three. 1. An arrogant loud blabbermouth who can't keep his damaged pride in check," Sasuke growled. 2. The most childish, idiotic and ignorant person I have ever met, and that's including 5-year-olds. Naruto winced, looking someplace else, ashamed. And 3. A spoiled brat heiress who's whining about her golden brother returning and has no idea about hard work. Sakura hissed, eyes turning angry. Kakashi held out his arms, wincing internally as he knew it was too harsh. But they needed to face reality, exaggerated or not. "Prove me wrong when I teach you." Emo duckhead. "It's your turn." "I like getting up in the mornings to watch sunrises." Next. "I like doing what team does, watching sunrises. It's so peaceful, Dadabeo." "Interesting spoiled brat." "I'm not my familidisticushinibisabekaminidpistomov." "Rebellious child, What did Haruno say?" "She said that her family doesn't like shinobi, so she became one to piss them." "What?" The other two boys didn't know how to react. One had become shinobi because A, it was in his blood, and B, he needed to become stronger to kill his brother. The other one had become shinobi to A, become Hokage, which then B, in turn gave him attention. Kakashi clapped his hands together, startling the three genin and drawing attention to himself. Lesson 2, never interrupt me when I speak. Kakashi's face turned hard, but not the kind that was purposeful. It almost seemed nostalgic. Lesson 3, never judge a person by their words. Lesson 4, always support your teammates. But Kakashi sent a glare towards Naruto, who instantly shut up. "I'll be giving out 5 lessons each session, so remember them carefully. When I mean support, I mean helping them." Yes, Sakura might have the worst excuse to become shinobi I have heard in a long time, but that doesn't mean she wants to become shinobi on her own. "Now it's my turn." "Hi, sensei." All three genin chorused, mind getting dizzy from being tied upside down for too long. Kakashi smiled innocently. "Those dogs that kept you up all night. They're mine. Kuchiyus no jutsu." A puff of smoke appeared before it gradually dissipated and there stood 3 dogs, all of them familiar. Kakashi relished in amusement the horror of his genin and how smug his dogs were once they recognized each other. What's its name? You. It's Bakken, Fox Kid. Stop calling me a fox. You, Shiba. Thanks, Ichiha Kid. You're the one who tore up my blanket at night and I almost froze to death. Irashi at your service, ma'am. Next, Kakashi I smiled. Brat, it's your turn. Sasuke growled. I now hate dogs. Kakashi shrugged, turning to Naruto, who was still in an argument with Pakken, and surprisingly enough, it was about who was the loudest last night. Naruto. It's your turn. I don't know who my parents are. Naruto yelled, the blood in his head finally affecting him. Kakashi smiled. There we go. Now they could really have a heart-to-heart, of course, with the kid's version of being drunk. Rikapi don't know who my parents are. Naruto yelled, the blood in his head finally affecting him. Kakashi smiled. There we go. Now they could really have a heart-to-heart, of course, with the kid's version of being drunk. This is Sakura yawned. A scroll. Correct. Kakashi beamed, despite the fact that it was 3 am in the morning. The Jonin had his clones drag the 3 genin out of bed and now all 3 of them stood in the freezing cold in just their pajamas. Naruto was the best off, he went to sleep with everything on including his jacket simply because he had no blanket or duvet to sleep underneath. Sasuke, however, stood there in navy shorts and a plain white t-shirt, shivering like mad. Sakura was in a light pink nightgown, hugging herself to create warmth. Now. Kakashi smiles wider. Recap of the lessons from last night. Obnoxious orange fox. Lesson 1, never complain. Brooding navy emo. Lesson 2, never interrupt you. Spoiled pink brat. Lesson 3, never judge a person by their words. Fox. Lesson 4, always support your teammates. Emo. Lesson 5, never question you or your methods. Kakashi smiled. Seems like you all remember. That's great. Now's time for lesson 6, always wear your gear. The 3 genin nod weakly. Lesson 6, always wear your gear. They chorused, shivering and sniffing in the freezing cold. Kakashi, however, was dressed in his usual Jonin outfit with an extra cloak around his shoulders. It was used so his genin couldn't see the blood on his back from where he went on an assassination mission earlier that morning, an emergency from the Hokage. Now, unseal what's in the scroll, Kakashi instructs and counts how long it takes for the genin to identify and undo the seal in pitch darkness with only the moon as a light source. Then he noted they were shivering like they were naked in the snow. Did he forgot that it was already winter? He thought it was still autumn. Naruto ended up being the one to unseal it and Kakashi wasn't surprised, the Uzumaki was known for being seal masters. Sensei, these are, yup. Kakashi grinned. Anbu uniforms with a slight twist. Sakura gaped. They're completely white. With black masks and cloaks. Sasuke squinted at his sensei. Are we like the opposite of Anbu? And have the actual Anbu confusing you little brats with them, so there. Kakashi yawned. Took me a while to convince the Sandame. How long? Naruto asked while turning around to find someplace private to change. Kakashi held up a hand and the boy froze. You're all changing here. And it probably took me half an hour. That's my 30 minutes wasted on you 3, so you better wear it. Sakura gulped as the 2 boys exchanged glances before respectfully turned around and tried to avert their eyes, but Kakashi was instantly behind them and twisted them back around, so all 3 of them faced each other. That changed. Now. Not even needing a bit of Kai to push them along, the genin instantly stripped in front of each other, Sakura turned redder than even the ripest strawberry. Naruto and Sasuke had the decency not to look, but it was kind of hard while facing each other and Kakashi forcing their heads up. Lesson 7, Kakashi said as soon as all 3 had finished changing, you are shinobi. Under any circumstances, you will prioritize your missions and teammates and not your privacy or your personal preferences. Lesson 7, we are shinobi. Under any circumstances, we will prioritize our missions and teammates and not our privacy or our personal preferences. The genin chorused, committing it to memory, sounding quite robotic and the black not Anbu masks added to the scene. They were scarred for life by the time Kakashi had let them down from being tied up the night before, having sprouted anything that comes to mind while being honest. Let's say the genin's closest people in their life was now their teammates and sensei, who had to listen to them tell secret after secret. Kakashi grinned under the mask. It seemed like these genin weren't as bad as he thought. Alright, you have 3 hours to find 3 scrolls that I've places around the whole village. He smiled wider, making it visible even in the dark. I'll see you at 6:30 am. And with that, the Jonin shined away, leaving his genin there, completely startled and vulnerable. He appeared at the top of the Hokage tower, yawning. This shouldn't be too hard of a task, right? Oh, who was he kidding, telling genin to find 3 things in a huge village within 3 hours was pretty much impossible. Well, let's see if the prodigy, Top Kunoichi and Jinchuriki live up to Kakashi's expectations. Right, so we found Yellow's scroll at Blue's house, Sakura recounted, and lost 2 hours already. We still have to find both Blue's and mine. Kakashi had appeared at the 1 hour mark to inform them of lesson 8, always use code names on missions. And so they went with the most obvious ones, yellow, blue and red. I still can't unseal it, Naruto pouted, how does he seal these things? We should be able to go to the Hokage now, it's 5:30 am. Sasuke pointed to the Hokage tower, where a light was on. I'll go. Naruto wagged a finger, I'll go because it's my scroll, and you two continue looking. I'll draw a chakra seal on you too, it's so I can locate you when I need to. Sakura huffed. I would decline, but this is urgent. No way. Sasuke shook his head, taking a step back. There is no way in hell will I ever let you do anything to me, dope. Lesson 7, Naruto reprimanded, we are shinobi. Under any circumstances, we will prioritize our missions. Okay, you don't need to become sensei, Sasuke hissed. And teammates and not our privacy are our personal preferences. Naruto continued, grinning. Now I get why sensei does it, it's so satisfying when you guys listen to what I say. Naruto was currently drawing the same symbol he saw on the first scroll which had their not anbu uniforms in it, somehow sensing that it was a locating seal. But he definitely wasn't going to say it was a hunch, or else Sakura will pummel him into the ground and Sasuke will insult him for the rest of his life. Are you sure the seal works? Sakura looks at the orange chakra on the back of her hand. Because if it doesn't, we're screwed. Naruto nods confidently. I'm sure it'll work. We need to get going, Sasuke peers up at the sky, it's already 5:40 something. Let's go, red. Hi, blue-kun. Sakura easily bound after the Uchiha as soon as Naruto had finished drawing the seal on Sasuke's arm before the Uzumaki ran towards the Hokage tower, feet silent thanks to the anbu clothing design and looking like a real anbu operative with his unnerving mask. Naruto remembered to knock before he entered and walked in with a scroll in hand. Hiruzen raised an eyebrow before narrowing his eyes. You, Naruto, Jiji. Naruto grinned. Dadabeo. The Sandaime shook his head, muttering, Kakashi was right, the uniforms do change the atmosphere. Huh? Naruto asked. Nothing. The man yawned. What are you doing here so early up? Sensei dragged us up at 3, Naruto shrugged, this is nothing. Now, do you know anything about seals, Jiji? Hiruzen nods. I know a thing or two. Can you unseal this? Naruto held his scroll forwards, and Hiruzen had to tell himself over and over again, this was Naruto Uzumaki, not a new anbu recruit. He looked scarily like one, which is probably what Kakashi was aiming for. The Sandaime inspected the scroll first, amused at the print script of Naruto U. Written on the side of the scroll, before turning his eye on the seal holding close the scroll. Hiruzen's eyes almost bulged out of his socket. Uzumaki seals, no one studied that since the Yondaime's demise, and Minato only taught it to his living student. How did Kakashi want his genin to figure it out? Ah, so he wanted them to seek help. The Sandaime shook his head with a smile before unsealing the scroll and opening the scroll up to find 2 jutsus listed inside, along with the instructions on how to learn them. Interesting. Jiji, can I have it back? We're kinda on a time limit, Naruto said awkwardly. The Hokage chuckled before handing it to Naruto. Have fun, child. It seems like placing Kakashi as your teacher wasn't a mistake. Adebayo. Naruto cheered. He's a good teacher and all, but I really need to go. I think Saw Blues found his scroll. And with that, Naruto disappeared, leaving the Hokage to his thoughts. So Kakashi had already drilled in codenames, that was fast. Codenames were usually taught to early chunin. Well, that man was definitely whipping these children into shape. That's when Hiruzen realized Naruto didn't once say anything about Ramen or being Hokage. And he always does that. Once every 2 to 3 sentences, but this Naruto was solely focused on his mission. Hiruzen sighed, glancing out of his window and seeing a black-cloaked anbu rushing towards 2 others wearing black cloaks. I wonder what Kakashi's doing which is so effective. Meanwhile, at the same time, Kakashi sat at his favorite store, the bookstore. The woman who owned the bookstore was an old friend, a veteran from the Third Shinobi War, but was crippled so she was no longer able to fight. But she was nice, gave Kakashi discounts, and sometimes had Kakashi babysit her 2 children. Kakashi, Kurenai walked over, fancy seeing you over here. Kakashi raised a hand. Sup. He had expected both her and Asuma to come, having detected their chakra signatures, but wasn't surprised when Asuma parted ways to head towards the Nara estate. So, Kurenai sat opposite him, how's your team going? Kakashi didn't hate small talk, in fact, he liked it. It was a good opportunity to gain information discreetly. I think they're okay. It's 6 now, right? Correct? Kurenai yawns. I'm gonna wait until 8. Kakashi nods. That's good. You have the Hyuga in Yuzuka and Aburam, if memory serves right. Yeah, Kurenai tugged at her sleeve, do you have any tips on teaching? They're my first genin team and I only recently got promoted to jonin. So, our generation's golden boy, anything. Kakashi chuckled when she said golden boy, that's what the people in their generation called him. Well, if it makes you feel better, my team's my first team too. I failed all the others. So I guess it's just conveying what you find is most important in being shinobi. Kurenai was unimpressed, what about anbu recruits? You've definitely trained them. Kakashi grinned. The most fun I've had in my whole life. But that's different, you can drill anything you want into them, and they have to do it. But these are genin we're talking about. Kurenai grumbled, if only it was that easy. Kakashi hummed in agreement, his book discarded, and his fingers were playing with the corner of the page he was currently reading. Oh, and right. I almost forgot to ask. Ask what? How's you and Asuma? Kurenai choked on air. What? Kakashi shrugged innocently. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who sees. There's nothing going on. Kurenai protested, shaking her head. Huh. Kakashi tilted his head. I'm pretty sure he asked you out, but then your father passed so you declined. Are you sure there's nothing going on? Shut up, golden boy. Kurenai glared at him, and he simply raised his hands in defense. There is nothing going on between us. Yet, Kakashi muttered, before standing up and slipping his book inside his newly changed vest, this time without blood on the back. Anyways, I'm going to check on how my genin are going. You asked for a tip, watch your team when they think you're not around. You'll definitely pick up more weaknesses by doing that. Kurenai nods and thanks him, watching the tall jonin walk off with a wave. She still admired him, of course, but not like she admired him as a child. She would deny to the ends of the earth that she was a fangirl, but now she admired him as the top jonin and ex-anbu commander. I can't believe it, my scrolls at Ichiraku's. Sakura gaped, holding a scroll in hand, standing outside of the raiment stand. Sasuke thought carefully. Yellow's scroll was at my estate, yours is at Yellow's favorite restaurant, wouldn't that mean that my scroll is somewhere where you'll be a regular? Me? Sakura nodded slowly. I guess so. Where would that be? Naruto asked, peering at Sakura. We only have 15 minutes left. 13, Sasuke corrected. I got it. Sakura exclaimed. Either the park, the mall, the clothes center, Ino's flower stall, the Nara's shogi place, or Cherry Blossom Lake. Her two teammates gaped at her. You're kidding. Naruto couldn't find any other words. I'm reaching my clone limit already. The shogi place. Sasuke frowned, even though his teammates couldn't see, they knew he was confused. You play shogi. So I'll go to the mall, my favorite store, Blue can go to the Cherry Blossom Lake, and Yellow and his clones go everywhere else. Sakura counts on her fingers, finishing off brightly. Naruto smiled weakly under his mask. I don't even know where all the other places are. Just summon them, Sakura orders. Age Bushin no Jutsu, Naruto scowled, forcing more of his chakra out. Unbeknownst to him, he was now using the Kyuubi's chakra, with the fox testing out to see what would happen if he lent some chakra out. And yes, the seal was slowly weakening due to the exchange, so Kurama bid his time, waiting and lending chakra to weaken the seal. Two clones appear, and Sakura shakes her head. I need another one. Naruto scrunched up his face and managed to muster up another clone before Sakura went into commander mode. Right, you're going to the clothes center, the Senju line. You're going to the park. You, go to Ino's store. And you, the real Naruto, will go to the shogi place. The three replicas of Naruto nod and sigh before rushing off, dressed in the white not anbu uniforms, scaring a bunch of civilians and genin who weren't used to see them. Since they had their black cloaks and hoods on, they were unidentifiable and it was awesome. There was no monster kid or pitiful Uchiha or rich girl to be envious about. Meet up at with sensei? Sasuke inquired. Sakura nods and Naruto nods afterwards. The three of them split up, rushing to three different parts of the village, passing their fellow academy graduates who had no idea who they were, simply staring at their weird uniform. Who's that? Ino asked, pointing to clone Naruto who slowed down at her flower store. I've never seen a uniform like that. Me neither, Asuma narrowed his eyes. But I've seen them run around all morning. If the Hokage thinks it's fine, then they shouldn't be too much of a threat. Shikamaru yawned. Let's just get training down, I want to go home. Asuma kept an eye on the weird black-cloaked short man who scouted about inside, but then he brushes past all the plants and glances back and forth before shrugging and leaving. The Sandame's son couldn't help but think, suspicious behavior. Who just enters a store without doing anything but looking inside? Not to mention looking everywhere inside. What time is it? Choji asked, yawning. Asuma-sensei, why are we up so early? It's only 6:20, Asuma replied, not that early. Sometimes you'll have to get up even earlier. Not me, Shikamaru yawned again, they'll know not to wake me up or I'll kill them. Asuma smiled. Alright. First training session, to jutsu. Let's run through the basic stances, I want them perfect at half speed by the end of the day. But 10 minutes later, Kakashi saunters onto the field, sitting underneath a tree nearby, waving at Asuma and pulling out his Icha book. Asuma walked over, directing his genin to walk over too. "What are you doing here, golden boy?" "Waiting." Kakashi smiles up at Team 10. "Just ignore me." "It's kind of hard," Shikamaru said, "Haddock-san, when there's a bunch of anbu weirdos coming for you." And true to the Nara's word, Team 7, dressed in their not anbu clothing, was running at Kakashi, who looked up at the sky, squinting at the barely rising sun. It was winter, so the sun was terribly low. "Sensei." All three of them arrive, bowing and out of breath. Kakashi raised an eyebrow. "Exactly on time. Good job. Now, let me see those scrolls." "Sensei." Sakura held out 2 scrolls. Kakashi picked them up, twirling them in his hands. "Where's the third one?" All there of them shudder. We ran out of time," Sasuke answered for the team, biting down on his tongue so he doesn't say more than needed. Team 10, even Shikamaru, were surprised. Asuma cleared his throat. "This is your anbu team?" Kakashi smiled brightly. "My genin team. Little wretches, take your hoods and masks off." All three of them in sync throw their black hoods off to reveal their familiar colorful hair before they took off their masks, looking quite exhausted. Ino screeched. "Sasuke-kun. Oh. Which one of you were in my store?" Naruto raised a hand sheepishly. "Sorry, I was looking for a scroll." "Well, it's time for lesson 9, never trust anything new, not patterns or anything you think you know." Kakashi snapped his book shut, holding up a finger. "You believe that because Fox's scroll was at Emo's house and Brat's scroll was at Fox's favorite store does not necessarily mean anything. Want to know where the last scroll is?" All three of them nod. "Lesson 9, never trust anything new or what we think we know," they chorus. "It's at the hospital." Kakashi grins. "Hospital?" Naruto deadpans. "But that has nothing to do with any of us." "Exactly." Kakashi stood up, bonking all three of them on the head as punishment. "I gave you 3 hours, you came back with 2 scrolls." The genin wince, waiting for a lecture or something of that kind. Kakashi beamed. "Impressive, for you genin." Sakura let out a breath of relief. "Do we have anything on now?" "Yes." Kakashi I smiled and sent a shiver down his genin spines. "You have 3 minutes to get the third scroll and back here. Starting now. It's on the other side of the village." Sakura remembers. "Ditch the cloaks. We'll never make it in time." Sasuke nods. "I'll go ahead, Naruto, you run to about 2/3 of the way there and Sakura, you stay at the first third point. We'll do it like a relay." "Change of plans," Naruto shook his head. "I'll send my clones forwards, we can sprint for about 1/5 of the way each." Formation, relay race. The three of them bolted, leaving a pile of their black cloaks and a trail of dust. Asuma whistles. "Effective, golden boy. I've told you to stop calling me that," Kakashi remarks offhandedly, settling back down on the ground and opening up Icha. "You should go train now. They'll be back in about 3 minutes." Asuma grins and ushers his team away, who was still processing the fact that Sakura didn't fangirl over Sasuke, who also didn't insult Naruto and provoke the blonde, and they actually worked together. "You see that?" Asuma flicked their foreheads. "That's what we call teamwork. You might not have to like them, but you have to learn how to work well together with them." Ino growled. "We're the next generation, Ino Shikacho. We're gonna beat Forehead Girl in teamwork." Shikamaru nods sluggishly, "Sure thing." "Whatever." Joji simply shoved more chips into his mouth, motivated. Asuma barks, "Get into those Taijutsu formations." Kakashi watched as his comrade trained his team, noting how Asuma got a little head start. He didn't have to focus on teamwork, as it was already imprinted in those clans. Kakashi sighed, flicking through the lines of Icha, his internal clock ticking away, counting slowly up to 180 seconds, and when it reached 140, Kakashi closed his book and stood up, stretching. 57 seconds later, a puffing Sakura arrived, holding out the scroll. "Sorry, sensei. We didn't calculate the time we needed to find the scroll." "That's fine," Kakashi took the scroll, "it comes with experience." "Now, wasn't that your first formation?" "Relay race, was it?" Sakura beamed. "Hi, sensei." "Good idea," Kakashi mused, "but won't work for long distance or unknown distances. It's good for inside Konoha." Sakura nods, and a puffing Naruto and Sasuke walked into the training grounds, gripping their sides. Naruto moaned, "Ugh, I need food. Breakfast seems like a miracle right now." "That's the next task." Kakashi grinned. "I want you all to go to Lightning Burger, the new store that opened 2 days ago, and I want you to convince the workers there that you're a totally different person." Sasuke would deny it, but he was tentative when he asked, "Any personality?" No, he would not risk disrespecting the scariest person he's ever met, the Hokage included. Kakashi spread out his hands. "Surprise me. But tell me your fake names first." "The Kitsune." Naruto grinned. "Dadabeo. Yellow Fox." Kakashi chuckled. "That's literal." "Usagi," Sakura decided, "Usagi Pinku." Rabbit pink. Kakashi nods. Like your anbu mask. Sakura smiled and traced the outline of her not anbu mask, which was designed like a rabbit, whereas Naruto's was a fox and Sasuke's was a raven. Igun Karasu, Sasuke nods. Kakashi let out a small laugh. The yellow fox, pink rabbit, and navy raven. Nice. I'll see you after breakfast. Hi, sensei. The three genin chorus, bowing. When they straightened, the jonin was gone without a trace, and a swirl of leaves was the only thing out of place. Recap Kakashi let out a small laugh. The yellow fox, pink rabbit, and navy raven. Nice. I'll see you after breakfast. Hi, sensei. The three genin chorus, bowing. When they straightened, the jonin was gone without a trace, and a swirl of leaves was the only thing out of place. The kitsune smiled at the owner of the restaurant, taking the role of the oldest brother. Team 7 had decided to try and impress Kakashi, creating characters totally different to who they are. Kitsune, the responsible, mature and oldest brother, was the easiest to decide. Then it was Usagi, the whatever, I don't give a crap about anything punk girl, who had neon green highlights in her hair. And then it was Kaigun, who was the loving youngest child who thought his siblings were the best. Thanks so much, Kitsune grins, ruffling the youngest family member's cough, Sasuke's, cough blonde hair. The three of them agreed on the blonde hair as long as they complied with Sakura's green eyes and Sasuke's facial features. It ended up being a mesh of Uzumaki Uchiha Haruno, and to be honest, Naruto thought they looked quite different to their original looks. The woman smiles. You're our first child customer, of course we treat you with extra. Ani, Kaigun pouted, what did you order? The kitsune winked at his brother secret. Usagi, stop it. To get into character, Sakura was psyching herself up by muttering swear words quickly like a rap and startling the other customers nearby, convincing the others already. Usagi peered up. You don't control me, baka. The kitsune laughed awkwardly. Well, at least you're normal. HN. Usagi crossed her arms, rolling her eyes. Well, at least you're still the same baka. Ani-chan. Kaigun whined and the rest of his team had to bit down on their laughter. But the two were also impressed at his acting skills, that was way off usual Sasuke behavior. Here you go, the woman appeared before them, a bowl of pork cutlets, a bento box with sashimi, and an inagi rice bowl. Arigato. Kitsune beamed. Itadakamasu. The other two genin were amazed at how their favorite dishes appeared before them, before realizing they had all confessed the night prior, due to Kakashi's meet and greet session. Itadakamasu. Kaigun hollered like a child, before digging into his bento. Usagi sniffed. Meh. Itadakamasu. Don't be like that, Kitsune reprimanded, say thanks. Usagi rolled her eyes but complied. Arigato. The woman laughed. You reminded me, where's your parents? It's unusual to see children just walking around, even if this is a shinobi village. The three genin all had their parts. Naruto was in charge of directing the conversation and setting up the whole look, Sasuke was to create the backstory and rat off anything a child would, and Sakura was to deflect anything they couldn't answer. It was perfect. They're going to the Hokage. Kaigun beamed, mouth full of rice. Something about getting us into some shinobi classes. The kitsune chuckled, ruffing his brother's hair again. Nice save, but shinobi. Not ninja. Yeah, they want us to learn self-defense. Usagi snorts, but Sakura knows not to overdo it, so she doesn't say anything and simply shoves another mouthful of eel into her mouth before stealing one of Kaigun's salmon, playing the act of the mean big sister as Naruto jumped to Kaigun's defense and demanded she apologized. Nah, Usagi yawned, too much work. Let me eat in peace, Ani-chan. The kitsune huffs before sitting down to eat his pork cutlet bowls. It was his second favorite, after ramen, of course. It was when his usual was unavailable curse Konohamaru for that, and he had to suffice for a pork cutlet ramen bowl. It instantly shot up his food list, and he's ordered it one in a while to break his usual ramen streak. Eat with your mouth closed, Kitsune orders, flicking Kaigun's forehead, it's rude to eat with it open. Kaigun pokes his tongue out and rolls his eyes, before shoving more food inside. Sasuke was internally flinching at his horrendous table manners, but he was told to act like a child and was hinged as one, so he will. Suddenly, Sakura came up with a coughing fit, startling her two brothers, who mentally screamed that's not planned. While trying to figure out what was happening. She waved them off, trying to convey the fact that she was fine, but Naruto and his fan-like side appeared. Ah, he fretted, are you okay? You're not dying, are you? Sasagi-chan. The rest of his team heaved a sigh of relief at Naruto's quick save before Sakura scowled at him when the coughing died down, eyes livid. I am perfectly fine. Now go back to eating and leave me alone. You almost tossed our mission out the window. Naruto could hear the underlying message and gulped, sitting down. Oh, don't blame him, the woman smiled, which somehow unnerved Sasuke, but he kept it to himself. He's just worried about his sister, that's all. There was something off about this woman. Sasuke decided to investigate. "Oh no, where do you come from?" Naruto freaked. This was also not in the plan, and Sasuke was supposed to be the one saving them from questions and not asking them. Kaigun-kun. Oh, the woman waved a hand, "We're travelers. We come from everywhere, really." Now Sakura was interested. "Everywhere, huh? What made you stay in Konoha, then?" Was Sasuke and Sakura in some sort of secret plan they didn't tell Naruto about? What was this, a secret interrogation? Sagi-chan, apologize. I'm so sorry for their rudeness. No, the woman grins, "I like straightforward kids. Reminds me of me in the old days. Now about your question, it's safe. Konohagakure is known to protect its citizens to the core, even if it means sacrificing their top shinobi. Now that's somewhere I want to stay." "Really?" Usagi yawns again, getting back into character. "Boring. Are we finished yet? Can we go find our parents?" Naruto sighed in relief, but made sure not to show it. "Right. Sorry about the questions, they're just really curious. I really don't get them, Databeo. I'll pay." Sasuke narrowed his eyes at the Databeo that was dangerous. What was Naruto thinking? But as the Uchiha watched as his brother paid the bill and ushered them out, he realized that Naruto didn't even remotely think he did something wrong, the word just rolling off his tongue. Sasuke cursed inside his head. They were bound to fail. Just as the three of them were about 100 meters away from the restaurant, Kakashi appeared from nowhere and clapped Sakura and Naruto on the shoulder, with Sasuke in the middle. "So how'd it go?" Naruto dispelled the henge. "Great. That was." Kakashi didn't even hit him, it was Sakura. "Great my ass. We completely flunked that." Kakashi nods gravely. "I agree. He watched us." Sasuke shook his head, also dispelling the henge. "Of course you did. This was a fail," Kakashi muttered, "I guess I need to stop rushing everything. This was meant to open you up to your surroundings and be able to easily read each other's social cues, even as posing as someone different. And I bet you didn't pick up on something about the waitress." "Huh?" Naruto squinted. "There was something off." "Yeah?" Sasuke nods, "She was hiding something." "Something related to us," Sakura agreed, dispelling her henge. "It was obvious." "Now," Kakashi looked them in the eye, "I asked her to keep an eye on you three. She's a retired doctor, a psychologist in fact. I worked with her long ago, just when the Third Shinobi War ended. Anyways, she was to give you clues on her being a suspicious person, and she did it perfectly, but none of you picked up on it until the last moment." Kakashi sighed. "We're going to need to start from basics. I guess last night wasn't enough. Take a seat, kids." Team 7 had arrived at a park bench table and slid into their seats, with Naruto and Kakashi on one side and Sakura and Sasuke on the other. Kakashi leaned forwards, placing his elbows on the table, and nods toward Sasuke. "I have a question," Kakashi states, "why are you no longer sniping at Brat?" Sasuke didn't even need to ask which Brat Kakashi was talking about. "I had a change of heart." Kakashi sighed. "That sounds like a question to me." Sasuke runs a hand through his hair. "He knows about everything about me. That's why. He can use that information to do anything, which means that he was blackmail me or trade." "Do you really think I'll do that, team?" Naruto stood up. "Just because I argue with you doesn't mean I'll do something stupid like that." "Oh yeah? Well, I can't predict the future." Sasuke retorts, standing up as well, crossing his arms. "Can't you just trust me?" Naruto pointed a finger at him. "What's so hard about that?" "What's so hard about that?" Sasuke sneered. "You're known as the monster of the village, dope. Who'll trust you?" "I would." The two boys look at Sakura in disbelief, who had timidly entered their argument. Sakura looked up, green eyes suddenly sharp but warm at the same time. "We're a team. Whether we like it or not, we have to work together. And to be honest, I don't think this team is so bad. We worked really well this morning, remember?" Naruto grinned. "Hell yeah, Databeo." Kakashi nods, now the only person actually sitting down on the bench. "Your team is like your family. Treasure them." "Family," Sasuke snorts, "is temporary. So are teams." Kakashi's eyes narrowed. "Don't let one thing define your whole world, Ichiha." "One thing?" Sasuke let out a hollow laugh. "Well, one person killed my whole family and left one alive, me." Naruto furrowed his brows. "Well, at least you're liked. I have no family too and everyone hates me." "Having a family who doesn't like you is worse," Sakura snapped, slamming her hand on the table. "What do you understand about being neglected but still have the same high expectations as your golden brother?" "Enough." Kakashi's voice cut through and all three genin stilled. "What do you three know about hurt? I watched my best friend die in my place, my other teammate commit suicide via my hand, was ordered to retreat as my sensei fought in a battle and died along with his wife, being manipulated while I was grieving, and that's out of a list I could ramble on." Kakashi's eyes were steel. "We all have our personal problems that we are burdened to hold. Now sit down and we're going to have a heart-to-heart without me interfering." Hi, Sakura sat down, followed by Naruto. Sasuke stood there in a daze before slowly slumping into his seat. Kakashi nods. Go for it. Let it all out. I have a Jinjutsu round, no one else'll hear us. Sakura took in a deep breath. You know when I said I became a kunoichi to piss off my family? It's because me brother couldn't do it. He's the golden boy, I love him as my brother, but sometimes mother takes it too far. It's always Riku this, Riku that, and if he can't do something, it's too easy for him anyways, and I'm just tossed aside like a ragged doll. Sakura cut herself off, her breathing becoming uneven as she ranted. Then she took a deep breath and continued. Riku tried to become shinobi, simply because they were well respected and had a good build, but then he didn't graduate from the academy first try. Sakura looked upwards at the sky, smiling bitterly. Then mother ruled shinobi out, calling it a disgrace to all humans. That's wrong. Just because Rikuani couldn't do it doesn't mean it's a disgrace to all humankind. Sasuke nods slowly. So you become one to show your family that shinobi aren't bad. They hated me for the decision, Sakura murmurs, and I said, well fuck you and your pretty little rules, I'm going to become the top kunoichi. You swore at your parents. Naruto gave her a thumbs up. Show him who's boss. Sasuke smiles faintly. You're not too bad, Haruno. Then her fangirl side flipped on. Really, Sasuke-kun? Thanks. Do you think my story? Naruto bellowed over the top and Kakashi winced. I may have a Jinjutsu on so it seems like it's just the wind and birds talking, Kakashi reprimands, but that doesn't mean I can cover up that. Quieten down, fox brat. Hi, sensei. Naruto bowed his head before he cleared his throat. So, I'll start from the start. I dunno who my parents are. From when I was growing up, everyone hated me. And then I was 5 or was I 6 or 7? I can't remember when Kyosuke and his gang appeared. I remember thinking they were drunk, so I hid, but then they were actually looking for me. Naruto gulped, not going on to detail, but absent-mindedly rubs a scar on his neck. Still being dressed in not anbu clothing, the rest of his team couldn't exactly see where the scar was, but had a pretty good idea. So then it started happening every night. Naruto shrugged. Sometimes he'd skip a night, but then it'll be worse the next night. Naruto smiled. When I was 8, Jiji took me out of the orphanage, that's where Kyosuke would find me every day and gave me my own house. It was great. There was an actually bed and stuff, and it's better now that I know how to plumb a bit. The tap malfunctions once or twice a day, but that's nothing. But the Neri thinks someone on my floor gave Kyosuke my address ouhi. End of story. That Sakura scooted over to give Naruto an awkward one-handed hug. Depressing. Naruto smiled brightly. Thanks, Sakura-chan. So do you think you can go out with me? We're going to talk about that behavior later, Kakashi cuts in, before looking pointedly at Sasuke, who huffs and turns away. I have nothing to say, Sasuke grumbles. You all probably know my story already. Naruto shook his head. Nah, I don't. What, you think you're so popular, eh, team? Shut it, Sasuke growled, fine. Let's get this over and done with. I went training one day, came back late, and found my whole clan dead. And then I walked into my house, and then Itachi Nai stood there, with his fucking shiny sword and fucking red eyes, and looked at me, and said, you're too weak to be killed that bastard. Kakashi glanced up lazily. What did I just say about yelling? And Sasuke growls. He goes and says something about how I need to get stronger to even be able to face him, so I'm gonna show that son of a. Enough bad language, Kakashi interrupts, and I think we all get it. So there. None of you are shallow kids without an understanding of hurt, so help each other. What did emo brat say? Something about family being temporary, as well as teams. Sasuke looks away. Lesson 10, people are never as they seem. Take Sakura, when you first see her, she's a spoilt rich brat who pines helplessly after her classmate. But now that you've sit down and actually participated in a talk together, you can say she's more than that. Much more. Lesson 10, people are never as they seem. The Gen in chorus, eyes glancing at each other, taking in each other's stories. They were all surprised at the depth of emotion they all had. They should be. As 12-year-olds, they were still developing their emotions and maturity. But all 3 of them has had a burst of maturity in a time of need, and so they all act like young adults when they need to. Sensei, Sakura asked timidly, you didn't tell us your story. Kakashi smiled. I know. It's a story for another time, when you need to hear it. I know I've been giving you lessons, well, more like rules to abide by, but here's our team motto. It's from my past, one of my teammates told me that. In the ninja world, those who break the rules are trash, that's true, but those who abandon their comrades are worse than trash, understood? Naruto grinned. Dadabeo. Sakura hesitantly agreed, and Sasuke kept quiet. Kakashi knew it would be easy for Naruto to abide by that, since he has no one to look after and care for, so to have a team is literally like having his first family which he'll protect like mad. But Sakura and Sasuke both know the pain of their family betraying and hurting them, so they'd be cautious before giving their hearts out. Kakashi smiled. Who said it was a short process? At least he planted the seed, all he needs to do now is nurture it until it can grow on its own. Now, Kakashi clapped his hands and the Jinjutsu dissipated. Your next training session. What? Naruto gasped. Already? It's only 8, Kakashi nods, we have a whole day in front of us. If you're lucky, I'll let you guys off early today. Ooh, Sakura stood up, rolling her shoulders back and forth. Alrighty sensei, what's next? Kakashi grins. Your first mission. It's D rank, of course. The Jonin already knew what he was going to pick. Let's hope they survive the cat chase. Yellow, in position, point A. Blue, in position, point C. Red, in position, point B. Good. Commence operation. Kakashi lounged at the top of a tree, his shadow clones tailing his students secretively. He kept a watchful eye out for any white movement, his students still in not anbu gear. Kakashi's decided it was going to be Team 7's official uniform. But it would be hard to wash blood off white, but the material is easy to wash. After all, they used it in anbu missions all the time. Yellow, missed. Red, missed. Blue, contained the target. Good job wretches, come back to the starting point. The 3 students tossed off their hoods. Kakashi instructed them not to take their masks, that would raise too many suspicions, and sighed in relief as Sasuke walked out of the trees, the squirming cat tore in Sasuke's hands. Kakashi grinned. That's a record. You must be the first genin team to capture her on your first try. Kakashi ruffled up Sasuke's hair and flicked Naruto's forehead. Who told you to move so suddenly? You'll freak the cat out. Omen, Naruto said sheepishly. Though we completed the mission. Let's bring it back to Lord Daimyo's wife, Sakura says, and Kakashi mentally notes to tell her to either cut that stupidly long hair or tie it up. She'd probably tie it up, but it's better than have it flying around everywhere and could impair her own vision. Go for it. Kakashi squints at the sky. I'll have to take that. Meet back here in 15 minutes. Hi. The genin disappear with their hoods back on, the black cloaks giving them a serious look. A hawk descends from the sky and lands snugly on Kakashi's outstretched arm. The Jonin clicks his tongue. You're getting a bit too comfy there, Shimei. The hawk ruffled its own feathers, holding out its left leg where a scroll was tied to it. Kakashi took it, unsealing it before opening it up. Shimei took refuge on Kakashi's shoulder, squawking tiredly. Kakashi's eyebrows shot up. A new mission for him. Investigating this man called Gato because he publicly executed a man. Didn't the Sandaime know already that he was too busy teaching his genin? Sighing, the Jonin made a sigh and called Kage Bushin no Jutsu. 2 copies of himself appeared. What do you need? One asked. Kakashi rolls his eyes. You know. You, find info. You, keep an eye on this Gato dude. Hi, both clones saluted before disappearing, and Kakashi cursed. Now he was going to have to teach genin while leaking chakra out at a daily amount. This wasn't anything new, but if the Sandaime wanted results and fast, he'd have to give Kakashi's time and no missions, which is pretty much an impossible thing to do. Boy, Kakashi poked Shimei, go back to the Hokage. Kakashi bit his thumb and swiped his blood straight through the mission scroll, before rolling it back up and tying it back onto Shimei's foot. Don't be late. He might let you rest once you get back. The hawk squawked loudly and took off, with Kakashi watching it until it was out of sight. Kakashi then thought to himself. He needed to get these genin to Chunin standard by the end of next week. So how was he going to do this? They needed to be proficient in jutsu and have at least 2 jutsus in their chakra affinity and 1 in the opposite. Oh, and a personally selected type. They also needed to be able to work as a team flawlessly, as well as getting closer to choosing their specialized areas. Oh, and also survival skills and learning how to sleep with their minds still active and being able to run for days without sleep. Nah, that's Jonin, but it's good to learn while they're young. To get 12-year-olds to Chunin level within 14 days was hard. Kakashi grinned. He liked a challenge. He knew it was going to be challenge when the Sandaime ordered for him to pass Team 7, but this was going to be fun. Oh wait, they also need less obvious code names, as well as the number 7 etched on their cloaks, so the anbu wouldn't be confused and the rest of the shinobi knew who they were. Not to mention Kakashi needed to work on their mental emotions and thoughts as well. The Jonin yawned. This was hard, being a Jonin sensei. Meh, but it was fun, and Kakashi was already proud at the fact that his team, probably the team that started off with the worst teamwork, now had the best teamwork out of all the genin teams. It was also a bragging right to the other Jonin senseis. Sensei. Kakashi looked back and saw his 3 students running towards him. They also need to work on their speed. There's so many things. And so little time. Then another thing popped into Kakashi's mind. They needed their aliases. Their second personalities and another profession other than shinobi. Kakashi was also Sukiya, a photographer, as well as using his self-taught cooking skills to add to that image. He needed to get the kids to decide to pick something else up, not just being a shinobi. Mission report. Sakura grinned. Sakura Haruno, 012601, Genin. Naruto Uzumaki, 012607, Genin. Sasuke Chiha, 012606, Genin. Sakura beamed. Mission success. Kakashi patted their heads. Good job. This was your first mission. Now, let's go home. I've got some taijutsu training for you all on the way back. Naruto, I want you to create 3 clones. On the way back, I want you all to piggyback one. Sensei? Sasuke asked, looking uncertainly at the Naruto clone who stood in front of him. The clone grinned. I'm not that heavy, Dadabeo. Lesson 5, Kakashi reminded. Never question you or your methods, Sasuke hissed, before allowing the clone Naruto to get on his back. Oh, you're right. You're not that heavy. Kakashi grinned and undid the metal bracelets he had on his hand and placed them around each clone Naruto's hand, making all 3 genin drop down to the ground with surprise. These are weights. About 7 kilos each. Have fun. How's everything going? The Sandaime asked, sitting at his desk. Kakashi nods absent-mindedly. Yeah, it's okay. Is something wrong? Why do you have more anbu than usual? Hiruzen chuckled. Nothing gets past you these days. You didn't answer my question. Kakashi pointed out. An anbu operative appeared. Shunshined, Kakashi thought. Hokage-sama fainted the other day, it's a precaution, Hound-sama. I'm not in the anbu anymore, Kakashi smiled. Geez, just call me Haddock. And you fainted, Sandaime-sama. Is your old age getting to you or something? The anbu was about to say something about disrespect. Everyone knows that the Hokage is old, but no one says it, but the Sandaime simply chuckles. It's been getting to me since I was 50. Now, about the training, is it okay to give you a mission in the middle? Kakashi shrugs. What mission? It's connected to your Gate 01, Hiruzen holds out a file and dismissing the anbu operative who shunshined away. Kakashi's eyebrows raise as he skimmed over the text. An escort mission back to the land of the waves. C rank, don't you think that's too high? Azuna's off, the Hokage simply said. Kakashi nods slowly before rolling up the scroll and placing in his jonin vest. We'll take it. It's this Friday, isn't it? Correct. The Sandaime put the pipe to his mouth. You have 3 days. They'll be ready by then, Kakashi nods. Hiruzen locks eyes with his right-hand man. They better be. The council's getting restless because I've been giving them mere D ranks. The council, Kakashi cursed. Those retired hags know nothing. The Sandaime shrugged before nodding at Kakashi. We really need those kids up to the standard. Konoha's becoming somewhat of a target. No. There's rumors that the newest village, Atagakure and Sunagakure, are discussing an invasion during the Chunin exams. We'll be in the Chunin exams too, Kakashi reassures the older man. The Haddock knew that Hiruzen wasn't the type of person just to bring up with a rumor without concrete information, so he must have sent a spy somewhere. This wasn't reassuring. Kakashi really needed those kids at Chunin, and fast. Recap will be in the Chunin exams too, Kakashi reassures the older man. The Haddock knew that Hiruzen wasn't the type of person just to bring up with a rumor without concrete information, so he must have sent a spy somewhere. This wasn't reassuring. Kakashi really needed those kids at Chunin, and fast. Naruto grunted. Tiger, boar, ox, dog, snake. He closed his eyes and thought to the kunai he had stuck in the tree nearby and opened his eyes to see himself right next to the tree and the kunai in his place. Woo. Finally. He cheered. Kawarimi no jutsu complete. The boy furrowed his brows again, his hands practicing the jutsu movements. Kawarimi no jutsu. Naruto reappeared in his former spot before looking down at his scroll. Next was a jutsu for his chakra affinity. That morning, Kakashi had dragged his genin out of bed, pleasantly surprised that they were wearing their Team 7 uniform and were sleeping in it, and then he shoved their scrolls they had retrieved a couple days earlier, before being told to look through them. They were all practicing the substitution jutsu at the start. What are they teaching you at the academy these days? Back when I was in there, we were already learning D ranks. Before they would learn 2 jutsus in their chakra affinity. Gyuden. Datapa. Naruto squinted at the scroll. Wind release. Great breakthrough. Ox, dog, rabbit, snake. Tiger, ox, dog, rabbit, snake. Gyuden. Datapa. Naruto bellowed, inhaling and exhaling a huge gust of wind. Kakashi had written as a side note on the scroll that results may vary, so if you got a huge gust, then your chakra reserves were large too. Naruto grinned. Well, that's great. Glancing down, he looked at the scroll again. If you got a huge gust, which is my guess, I want you to control it and get a medium and small gust. Haddock. Naruto blinked. Did he sign off with a scarecrow? Mayafuten. Datapa. A small breeze came out of Naruto's mouth as he narrowed his vision. The way he controls chakra was imaging it as a tunnel with a one-way exit, and narrowing down the tunnel meant smaller amounts of chakra. Before Kakashi had let them train by themselves, he had, at 5 am, sat them down in a circle and told them to do chakra meditation. He told them to visual what they thought chakra was and told them to contain it and focus on drawing it in and out. Chakra meditation was perfect for beginners to control their chakra to its core, and so when all three of them got the hang of it, Kakashi shooed them off to go learn their jutsus. Naruto grinned. Now let's make it as big as possible. Wuo. Futen. Tatapa. A huge gust similar to a hurricane strength erupted from Naruto's mouth and ripped across the training ground, completely destroying one side of training ground 3. Kakashi appeared instantly, a kunai spinning in his hand, though the Jonin had a good idea of what happened. "Sorry, sensei," Naruto said sheepishly, "I wanted to make it as large as possible." Kakashi sighed, tucking the kunai away. "You can never be too careful." "Fine. Next time I'm setting you on training ground 17. What about the trees?" Naruto's eyes widened in horror. "I don't have to plant every single tree, right?" Kakashi chuckled, crossing his arms. "No, I have a friend who can do that. Now, show me your kawarimi." Naruto grinned. "Kawarimi no jutsu." Kakashi's smile strained. He didn't have to yell out the jutsu name, but it looked so normal for Naruto that Kakashi decided that this one time he'd let it slide. Next time, he'd definitely crack down on that. "Sensei." Naruto bellowed from where he substituted with a broken branch. He was pretty far away, but Kakashi and his extreme dog-like senses could easily smell which direction Naruto was yelling from. Kakashi held up a hand. "Good job. Move on to the next one." And disappeared, shining away. Naruto's hands flashed in movement before he reappeared in his old spot, the broken branch back where it was supposed to be. "Huh," Naruto mused, "Sensei has a friend to grow trees. Aren't I lucky? He'll most likely kill me if he didn't." The next jutsu, Naruto's eyes bulged out. A B rank. Now this was interesting. Futen. Shinkihin, it did a lot of damage. Down in the corner, Naruto saw Kakashi's handwriting and quickly read that first. "Each of you are getting a purely offensive jutsu and they can fatally harm others. This is to be used in emergencies only, for example, when a teammate is about to die or you are about to die. It can kill many people within a range, especially those extremely close to you. This must not be your first choice of a jutsu when in a dire situation. Otherwise, have fun learning it and make sure you don't hit anyone while practicing. Haddock." Naruto hummed to himself. Rat, snake, horse, dog. It wasn't hard to remember. Then he looked down at the next instructions, scrunching up his forehead in confusion. So he needed to spin around while doing the hand seals. Meh, whatever. Naruto was excited. He just wanted to try this out. Rat, snake, horse, dog. Naruto exhaled as he spun on the spot and was just about to see the results when he slipped while spinning and landed on his face, eating dirt. "I guess I should practice spinning first," Naruto mumbled into the ground, groaning. "This sucks. I just want to break some stuff." Sakura, on the other hand, had easily gotten down the kawarimi under her belt as she had studied all E-rank jutsus. Her chakra control is the best out of the whole team, but her reserves are the lowest. Kakashi wanted to give her one that would change due to the amount of chakra she uses to help her build up her reserves. "Oten. Ritsudo Tensho." She muttered, finding it easier to focus on her control if she whispered the jutsu name. She slammed her hand on the ground, forcing at least half her chakra out, pouring it into the ground, and between her and the 10-meter mark, the ground broke up into pieces, overturning and flipping over like they were broken ice blocks in a sea of water. Sakura collapsed on the ground, heaving gigantic breaths. "Frick, I can't do this." She groaned, falling onto her back, her chest rapidly rising and falling. A familiar face flashed past her eyes, and Sakura grit her teeth and forced herself to sit back up. She was going to show her parents that shinobi weren't disgraces and their whole world shouldn't be centered around just Riku. Sakura loved her mother and father, really, she really did, but sometimes they were too narrow-minded to see anything other than their perfect son. "Alright." Sakura stood up shakily. "I'm gonna show mother and father how's it's done. Doten. Ritsudo Tensho." She had bellowed the jutsu name, forcing as much chakra as possible into this jutsu, and for about the next 20 meters, the ground was upturned and the width was about another 25 or so meters. Sakura grinned, feeling exhausted. That was great. Training ground 9 was perfect for her. It was literally a field of grass about 200 meters wide and long, giving her huge amounts of space for her earth jutsus. Kakashi appeared beside her, noting the dangerous turning rocks before turning to his student. "How's everything going, brat?" "Well, sensei." Sakura gave him a tired thumbs up. "Thought you may have used up almost all my chakra." Kakashi sighed. "Kids. Never learn to keep some as reserve. Now, did you try the B rank one already?" "Hi." Sakura smiles, "That one's creates a lot of damage." She points to a crater behind her and Kakashi whistles appreciatively. This training session was going almost too well. All of them were progressing at a superhuman speed. You're doing pretty well, Kakashi praises, take a small break. Maybe focus on mastering Kawarimi so you can substitute almost subconsciously. Hi. Sakura grins before flopping on the ground. Gim 5 first. Kakashi chuckles, tossing her a bottle of water before disappearing, leaving Sakura in the blinding hot sun. The girl was already sweating from the extensive use of chakra and now she had to deal with the heat. She tiredly commanded, Doten. Doryo Dango. By using mostly her physical strength, Sakura pulled out a chunk of the ground and placed it carefully next to her, straining her muscles before huffing and sitting behind it, relishing in the huge shadow it cast. Maybe she could just close her eyes for 5 minutes. Sasuke wasn't tired. Not yet. He was debatably the most chakra-efficient person in Team 7 bar their sensei of course, with his reserves much larger than your usual genin, but smaller than a Jinchuriki from activating his Sharingan since he was young, but never really used it. His control was also better, but it was practiced. He spent most of his time at home doing chakra meditation. He suddenly flickered and reappeared beside a boulder, before muttering, Dendu Hari Hiragari no Jutsu. Sasuke went through his Taijutsu forms at 3/4 of the full speed, while focusing chakra onto his front, where electric needles slowly grew, and when Sasuke was satisfied with its length, shot the lightning needles towards the boulder, carefully aiming for the X he had scratched on earlier. He nailed all of them. There, he stopped his Taijutsu, taking deep breaths in. After a whole hour, I got it. Now he was moving on to the second jutsu. Regardless of what others say, the Uchiha was a perfectionist. Have a jutsu your sensei gave you? Must nail it before moving on. Flicking open his scroll, Sasuke nodded slowly as he read the description and instructions that were handwritten on, with obvious scribbles here and there. That made it obvious that Kakashi was a lightning affinity too, with tips on how to reduce the amount of chakra needed for the lightning jutsu, and that came merely with experience. Raiden. John. Sasuke opened his mouth, forming the snake seal, and a bolt of lightning shot out of his mouth, very similar to a laser. Sasuke was also thrown backwards due to the impact and landed awkwardly on his back. Hissing in pain, the Uchiha stiffly sat up, rubbing his hip. Now this was perfect. Any offensive jutsu was welcome into his arsenal. He could show off to Itachi before wiping off that smug smile off of the older Uchiha's face. Though I get why it's B rank, Sasuke winced as he stood up, the force let's do that again. Raiden. John. Kakashi watched from afar as he saw his lightning affinity student being flung around training ground 22, which was a concrete padded floor and random boulders stationed around the field, perfect for lightning affinity shinobi. All three of them were incredibly skilled, and their adaptability to their new training ground was astounding. Kakashi hasn't seen anyone other than some of his outstanding anbu recruits pick up new jutsus that quickly. Kakashi looks down at the scroll in his hand. It had a big C printed on it. Unraveling it, Kakashi rereads for about the 43rd time, the mission about the escort to the land of waves. Apparently Tazuna had wanted protection as soon as possible, but the Sandaime had responded, saying that their shinobi ranks were deteriorating and that he had to wait for about a week. That wasn't exactly the truth, but Kakashi knew that more and more people were joining anbu or retiring, which results in less and less normal jonin, which leaves most of the missions to chunin and genin. On Tuesday, which was the first official training day, Kakashi had the team chakra meditate after arriving back at Konoha, also asking Naruto to dispel his clones. On Wednesday, Kakashi dragged them out of bed at 4 am, mad at the fact that none of them slept in their gear. He then had to explain that lesson 6 also extended to sleeping. Then, for the whole morning until lunch, they ran through their taijutsu forms at half speed, before increasing it to full speed with Kakashi as a ruthless instructor. Again, at lunch, they were ordered to henge as the opposite gender and convince the staff at Yakiniku-Q that they were really who they pretended to be, which they finally succeeded at. Then after lunch, they took another D rank, doing the housework of a particularly rich family. Kakashi told them they could only use one arm and one leg, and the three of them ended up leaning on each other for support. Dinner. PFFT, what's that? Team 7 went straight into the tree walking exercise as soon as they arrived home at 7 p.m, skipping dinner and going to sleep at 11, only to be woken up by Kakashi at 5 am. Which brings us to Thursday, today. It was currently 11 am, and at 11:30, Kakashi was going to call all his students back, deciding to let the three have a normal meal. Then maybe work on Sakura's Taijutsu, Sasuke's Sharingan, and introduce Naruto to the information on the Kyuubi after dinner. But now he was mentally tallying the jutsus each student had. They had all learnt the basic clone, Naruto knows the shadow clone, they could all use fabric of some kind to blend into the background, as well as untie themselves from a bound state, but not bound by Kakashi's standards, so he needs to work on that. Oh, and of course, henge. Then they each had 2 of their chakra affinity jutsus. They should learn a genjutsu each, but that would come afterwards. They need to perfect their current jutsus now, before their mission tomorrow. Kakashi narrowed his eyes. He needed to test them. Right, Kakashi appeared behind the three genin. How's lunch? They were now used to it even if it has only been 2.5 days since they first met Kakashi. Sakura smiled. It's good. Aren't you going to eat lunch, sensei? Kakashi shook his head. I already did. Ate some dango with a couple of other jonin. What's on after lunch? Sasuke asked, shuffling around on his seat. Naruto was too busy stuffing his face with ramen, as Sakura and Sasuke had let Naruto drag them to the Ichiraku's after finding out they're able to pick the place they want to eat at. Kakashi smiled. Now that's a secret. I watched you all train this morning, good job on your new jutsus. Have you told each other your jutsus yet? Nope, Sakura eyed Naruto warily, he's too busy talking the heavens about ramen. Naruto smiled, giving a huge thumbs up as he slurped up the noodles. But it's good, right? Sakura nods, a small smile on her face. Yeah, I guess. Now, Kakashi held up a hand, lesson 12. Always exchange information when you have time. It's astounding how much of a difference it can make if you know your allies' skills. All three genin nod. Lesson 12, always exchange information when you have time. I'll give you, Kakashi hummed, about 10 minutes. As soon as Kakashi finished talking and turned around to leave, he heard Sakura ask what the boys had learned and offer to tell them her jutsus. Kakashi smiled to himself, pulling out Icha as he walked down the street. Might as well spend 10 minutes with Obito, Rin and Minato-sensei if he had the time. At the same time as he shunshined away, his genin team was quickly and efficiently exchanging information, taking Kakashi's lesson also as a warning. Sasuke nods slowly. Right, so Dobe has the ability to create a gust of wind, the strength customizable. You can also spin on the spot and create blade-like gusts as your emergency jutsu. The three of them referred to their destructive jutsu as their emergency jutsu, having read the warning and decided only to use it when in an urgent situation. Naruto nods. Yup. And Sakura-chan can turn the ground into blocks and also pick up a gigantic chunk for emergency. Yeah, Sakura blushed and tucked a pink strand of hair behind her ear as she turned to Sasuke. You can create electric needles and shoot out lightning lasers as your emergency. Correct? Sasuke breathed a sigh of relief. I have a feeling what we're doing next will test that. Sakura nods, but then eyes her food. I'd recommend not eating a lot, just a hunch. Sasuke makes a sound in agreement before placing down his chopsticks. Naruto, however, disregarded the warning until Sakura snatched his chopsticks off of him and started to reprimand the blonde as Sasuke hesitantly paid the bill, not knowing if he should or not. But Tsuchi simply smiled and brushed the Uchiha off, saying that any friends of Naruto's are ours and letting them go. Let's hope Naruto digests quickly, Sakura muttered just as they were about to leave, not surprised at all to see Kakashi leaning against a wall nearby with Icha in hand. He looks up as soon as they exit and smiles reassuring, which somehow sends a shiver down his student's spine, despite the friendliness of it. Now, Kakashi grins, we're going to have trail battle. Against me. Here? Sakura was instantly in a defensive mode. Kakashi grins. Lesson 11. He sang. Sasuke cursed, leaping and flipping backwards to gain space between him and his sensei. Lesson 11, always assume something is happening at that exact moment unless otherwise told. Sakura and Naruto split ways, with the girl going to the right and the boy going to the left. Kakashi nods, satisfied. Good job. Now, I'm going to be a Chunin. The Jonin now turned Chunin leaped forwards for Sasuke, who engaged his sensei in a taijutsu match, though it was evident after trading blows who was superior. Sasuke grunted as Kakashi's fist connected with his stomach, throwing the Uchiha backwards. Kakashi was relentless, throwing punch after punch, but refrained from shunshining. As they fought, Sakura and Naruto met up at the park, which was only just down the road. We need to get Sensei and Sasuke to a training ground, Sakura comments, to make sure no one else is caught in the crossfire. Naruto nods, and not ground 22 either, because Sensei's a lightning affinity. Sakura hums. You can do the most damage as a wind affinity, so we have to move to ground 3. Sure. Naruto grins. But how are we going to move them? Sakura murmurs, before her eyes set on something. That could work, but she couldn't underestimate her sensei. She knew that the Jonin was holding back and fighting like a Chunin for a reason, so she turned to Naruto, telling her plan. The two teammates snuck around the blocks before coming to a stop right behind a fighting Kakashi and Sasuke. Sasuke was obviously concentrating hard, but Kakashi looked more at ease, but let small mistakes come through, giving Sasuke some chances to get through his guard. Kakashi caught Sasuke's roundhouse kick and pulled the boy in to give him a flick on the forehead with a smile, before pushing the Uchiha away, making him lose his balance. Wow, Naruto whistled, I get why he's being Chunin. We'll never beat a Jonin. Not like this, Sakura agrees, before pulling out a bag of soft items. She looked at Naruto. You know what to do, right? Naruto gave her a thumbs up. Dadabeo. Futon. Tatapa. A medium breeze came from Naruto, enough so that when Sakura opened her pouch, all of the leaves flew out in the wind, flying slowly towards the Taijutsu duo. Naruto's hands flashed again, before he muttered another jutsu. Multiple Narutos appeared, and they all in sync called henge. Now henged as leaves, they easily blended in with horde of leaves that Sakura had collected. Thankfully, many people had seen to evacuate the area due to Kakashi and Sasuke, so now they didn't need to worry about but the buildings and belongings. Sakura charged from behind, unknowingly infusing chakra into her fist, yelling, "Cha!" She had punched Kakashi, who pretended to be taken by surprise. Please, he tracked their chakra ever since he announced they were going to fight, and Sasuke clenched a fist of Kakashi's vest as they flew with a chakra-infused punch towards training ground 3. Good idea, Kakashi grinned before twisting around so that Sasuke was on spot to get the most damage. Sasuke grunted, kneeing his sensei in the stomach, and Kakashi gasped softly before chuckling. Playing like that, are we? No rules saying we can't. Sasuke let go of Kakashi, pushing off the Chunin and yelled, "Go." The leaves which had somehow ended up around Kakashi morphed back into Naruto clones, all armed with kunai. Kakashi grinned. "Good, you guys are working well together." Kakashi expertly dodged all of Naruto's clumsy attacks before mentally noting to work on Naruto's taijutsu. He was sloppy at best. But what Chunin Kakashi did not expect was to see Sakura already at ground 3. Now that was fast and unexpected and somehow was waiting for them to land. All the clone Narutos winked and blinked out of existence, leaving Kakashi alone in the air, falling at a fast speed. Kakashi debated doing a wind jutsu to minimize injuries, but acting like a Chunin restricted that. No Chunin can do a jutsu of their worst nature. He instead opted to land in a roll, but his Jonin mind screamed for him to do something else, anything else, because he knew what was going to happen. "Ah!" Sakura bellowed, slamming her hand on the ground, upturning the area where Kakashi estimated to land, making it extremely dangerous to land. He smiled proudly. They're getting there. They're getting to the Chunin level. But the one problem? They didn't account for Kakashi's jutsus. Specifically, his shadow clones. Page Bushin no Jutsu. Kakashi multiplied and used one clone in the middle and pushed off of it, landing swiftly outside of Sakura's rock-turning area. His other clones did the same, resulting in 5 clones around his genin and 1 who died from landing in the rock. But try, Kakashi nods, you all work together. He sensed chakra coming from behind, but small amounts and a lot of them. He flipped over some, dodged some, but let some chakra hit him and smiled to himself as he felt a sting and the area he got hit started to feel numb. Sasuke stood there, puffing, arm outstretched and pointing to Kakashi. "Damn it, I thought the electric needles would work." "Good," Kakashi grins, "but you forgot, I've got experience with zapping myself with electricity." And just as Kakashi landed easily on the ground, he caught Naruto's foot swinging for his face, while also swinging out a leg to unbalance Sakura, who attempted to creep up behind him. Sakura stumbled backwards as Naruto lost his balance. Sakura grit her teeth and was about to charge when one of the clone Kakashis appeared. "Kuzo?" Sakura hissed, dodging clone Kakashi's attacks. "You're good. Clone Kakashi," I smiled. "I am your sensei and a Chunin, whereas you are a genin, even if I am a clone." Sakura was so focused on dodging the fast attacks that she didn't realize until she fell straight into another clone Kakashi's hands. The 2 clones grinned at each other right before Naruto let out a yelp and was flung towards them, and the clone who was fighting Sakura easily caught the genin. "Thanks." The clone yelled, to which another clone across the field waved. Sakura huffed, deflating. "We're never going to beat you." Kakashi shrugged. "So?" Then Sakura's eyes went wide. "Naruto." The dazed genin looked clumsily around. "Hey." Sakura huffed, squirming in clone Kakashi's iron grip. "What do you do if you know you're going to low?" Kakashi placed a hand over her mouth. Naruto blinked before looking up at his own clone which held him captive. "Oh. Oh. Oh." Kakashi echoed, glancing down at the blonde genin he had in his arms. Naruto closed his eyes and snapped them open with a growl. "Let go of me." Kakashi blinked. Then he realized. "If not, I'm going to release the seal on my stomach and." Clone Kakashi acted quick, acted like a Chunin. He dropped the Uzumaki and leapt a couple of feet away, kunai in hand. The clone smiled. "Of course. That was smart on both of Sakura and Naruto's account." Naruto growled at the other clone. "Let go of her." The 2 clones took a couple of jumps back, crouching defensively. "Good." Sakura grinned. "Bluffing. Now we grab blue and run." "Run?" Naruto repeated. "We're never going to win, so speak softer, Sakura." A clone called out before darting forwards. Cursing, Sakura glanced around before making a hasty sign and substituted with a flying leaf in the air to their left, and Naruto panicked and summoned more clones. Both clones rushed forwards, powering through all the clones, but in the end, Naruto had already substituted out of the place, and when the 2 clones looked up, they were dispelled. The real Kakashi stood with Sasuke being held upside down from the ankle, grinning at the two genin who ran towards them. Feigning the memories of his clones, Kakashi nodded, satisfied. Good. Brat, good thinking. Fox, nice acting. Arigato, sensei. The two of them say in sync. But, Kakashi glanced at Sasuke, who had his arms crossed and was dangling in the air. What about this emo brat? Probably ditch me, Sasuke sighed, it's the ideal. No, Naruto shook his head, we'll come back for him. Teammates, right. Kakashi dropped Sasuke gently, flipping the boy so he landed on his feet. Good. Very good. Your jutsu use is improving and none of you used your emergency, which is good. Now, I want you three to learn how to manage your chakra even better. I'll tell you why when you sit down to chakra meditate. The three genin settled down slightly awkwardly as they moved around their various small cuts and bruises. Achiha. The boy looked up. Those electric needles are good. But, you used too much chakra to prepare them. You had about double amount actually needed for the needles, but since you had to manage them all in the one spot, you pushed too much into the one area. Not only will that make it obvious that you're going to launch an attack from the front, but it can also impair your own ability to fight. Hi. Uzumaki. Sensei. Those clones. Nicely done, much better than before. But, you summoned too many. And that was too much chakra in the air, and any decent chunin would have a good sensory 1 to 2 meter range. Those leaves were a nice touch, but you really only needed 2 or 3 clones. Not 6. I'm guessing the plan was spontaneous, which led to you not focusing enough to control your chakra. Hi. Haruno. Hi, sensei. The chakra-infused punch. Well done. It uses explicit chakra control, which is something that you're getting close to. However, you can probably feel it, but you've most likely dislocated most of your joints in your hand. Chakra-laced attacks needs extreme concentration and control, which you underestimated. Otherwise, I would have never expected it to come. Hi. Good. Now the three of you meditate as I get a medical nin over. Hi. Recap good. Now the three of you meditate as I get a medical nin over. Hi. The mission. Sasuke looked at the scroll. To the land of waves. Naruto grinned. It's a C rank. Yes. Izuna stood there, annoyed. He had asked for protection ASAP, but had to wait a couple of days and end up with children. Are you sure these twigs can protect me? With all due respect to Izuna-san, Sakura beams, we're quite adept at being shinobi, and since this is a mere C rank, we should be fine. Izuna turned a critical eye on the girl, but received 2 glares from the boys and shrunk back. Kakashi smiled. Well, we'd better get going. The earlier we leave, the earlier we can come back. Hi, sensei. The 3 genin chorused. Kakashi turns to Tazuna. Give us half an hour to pack our gear. We'll meet at Konoha's front gate. Whatever, Tazuna grumbles, turning around and stomps out of the Hokage office. Here's inside. He's an old fellow, don't be too hard on him. The genin nods slowly, about to leave when Kakashi held up a hand. Now, is there anything you've picked up? Sasuke nods. There's something off about his behavior. It's suspicious. Gives me the wrong vibe. Kakashi nods. And what does that mean? Pack extra, Naruto mutters, especially ninja tools and extra pairs of clothes. Bring lots of chakra too. Sasuke snorts. I wish we could bring extra chakra. It's not actually a C rank. Sakura says over the top of them, cocking her head to the side. It's most likely we're not supposed to meet enemy shinobi, but we might. Kakashi grins. Good job. Do what Naruto says, pack extra and don't use chakra unless you have to. Now, I want you to wear your old clothes with the cloaks on top. If we do run into enemies, it's better they underestimate you than overestimate. Hi, sensei. And with that, all 3 of them leaves via the window, leaping down the tower and landing lightly on the roofs of the houses underneath. The Sandaime sighs, giving Kakashi a pointed look. The Jonin shrugged innocently. The window? Really? The Hokage asked, amused. It's convenient, Kakashi defended, and it's good for training. The Sandaime chuckles. That's true, but annoying for the person who owns the window. Now, I'd like a mission update on your Gato mission. Kakashi nods. My first clone was defeated quickly as its sensory abilities are dull, but my second one's still reporting. Gato's locking himself in his room regularly from 1 PM to 4 PM, not coming out for the whole 3 hours. No one goes in either. He's been hiring Shinobi Nukenin, and I think there was a rumor about hiring Zabuza Mamachi, one of the 7 swordsmen of the mist. His goal is to control the land of waves, while also gaining an impressive income. I have a feeling that our Tazuna escort mission has something to do with that. What if you run into Mamachi? Hiruzen asked, nodding along as Kakashi reported. The Jonin smiled dryly. I'd usually take a genin team and run, but this is about political pressure, right? Correct. Hiruzen scowls. The 5th councilman is pressing for results, as is the 7th. The 2nd is trying to slow them down, but it isn't working. The rest are curious but are patiently waiting, though I don't think that will last. And if the results aren't up to their standard? Kakashi asked, even though he knew the answer. It was always the same answer. I will be pressured into passing on the Hokage title, the Sandame's mouth pressed into a thin line, and most likely, the council will pick Danzo as a replacement. And all the other villages know about Danzo's shady work, they might turn on us. Not to mention, the perfect window of the Chunin exams are coming up. Kakashi nods. Right. So if I meet Mamachi, I'll let the kids run free and if they're about to die, I'll deal with him. Now, I need to get going. To prepare for my mission. Kakashi, here is inside, please don't do anything reckless. It'll be better if we have one shady Hokage than a dead Genin team. Kakashi wasn't sure he agreed, but he wasn't going to toss his team's lives on the line either. Hi. Dismissed. Kakashi Haddock, 009720, Jonin. Hiruzen watched Kakashi leave, a heavy weight on the old man's shoulders. He really didn't like pressuring Kakashi into bringing out excellent results, but he was the only person the Sandame could trust with this. Not only was Kakashi's resume impressive, the man has also been in war and understood loss and the importance of having a good Hokage. The Haddock also knew what lengths Danzo would go to, and the ex-Anbu was the only one suited to hold all the classified information. Wearing their old colorful ninja gear for the first time in days, the three Genin had to admit they had gotten used to the protection and flexibility their Team 7 gear had and now thought their old gear were impractical. See what I felt? Kakashi ruffled up Naruto's hair when the boy complained. Sasuke nodded. This now feels so childish to wear. Agreed. Sakura shuddered as she was tying up her hair into a bun. Though we are bringing our uniform, right? Kakashi nods, holding up a scroll. Who wants to safekeep? The two boys looked pointedly at Sakura, who spluttered, me? But I always lose stuff. I have no stuff to take care of most of the time, Naruto says, and team here doesn't safekeep stuff. It's either let's use it or throw it. Sasuke scowled. Not that, but something like that. Kakashi hands Sakura the scroll and she looks at it for a while before slipping it into her waist pack, which was a new addition to store all of her extra items. It was crimson, looked tiny, but stored a hell lot. It was sealed by none other than Kakashi himself and it could store up to 5 times its normal volume. Naruto had a similar seal on his thigh pouch and so did Sasuke. But the Uzumaki had the pockets inside of his orange jacket also sealed, as well as Sasuke's new fingerless gloves which had senbon inside, with many stored. It was a welcome gift from Kakashi when he returned their uniforms the day after they first wore their uniform, telling them that even though it was childish and impractical when you wear it, it was good to wear while pretending to be children. Dear Harrierly, Tazuna spluttered, arriving 5 minutes before 10:30. Sakura smiled. Lesson 15, always be wherever you need to be early by 15 minutes. Lesson? Tazuna frowned. Let's just go. Kakashi grins as he nods and lets Tazuna walk first, giving Sakura a thumbs up behind the old man's back before taking up the rear of the group. Halfway there, Naruto spoke up. Scarecrow, do you sense that? Sasuke tried his hardest to keep a straight face, and Sakura hid her giggle with a cough. Kakashi rolled his eyes, before replying, no, I don't. Naruto nods slowly. Oh. I must be imagining it. One thing that Kakashi knew about the Kyuubi's influence on Naruto was that his range of sensing chakra was wide, almost as wide as Kakashi's. Even if Naruto isn't as thorough as Kakashi, only knowing that someone's close, not knowing what level of shinobi they were. But Kakashi knew. It was 2 Chunin-level shinobi who were currently coming towards them, making an attempt at hiding their chakra. They were quite good at it, but couldn't get past Konohagakure's top ninja and their Jinchuriki. Sasuke and Sakura exchanged looks. On missions, when someone said they didn't sense something, it's usually the opposite. The two of them already knew that their sensory abilities were way under both Naruto's and Kakashi's, and so opted to let the two be on guard while focusing on their mission, escorting Tazuna. The old man was fidgeting, occasionally glancing behind him, as if to confirm that Team 7 was still there, heaving a sigh of relief every time he saw them. But then he looked back and saw only Sakura, who was humming happily to herself. Where's? Sakura smiled reassuringly. Don't worry, they'll be back. Kakashi then waltzes out of the tree line, giving Sakura a thumbs up. Don't worry, the boys'll take care of them. Take care of what? Tazuna started to sweat. Who's after me? Are they after me? You'll protect me. I never said they're after you. Kakashi's smile turned into a glare, and I'd like to know why the demon brothers are tracking us. Do you have anything to tell me? Tazuna gulped. Well. Kakashi didn't look surprised as a set of trees set on fire behind him, not even phased. Sakura whistled, grinning, and Tazuna felt a shiver go down his spine. This man was intimidating. I don't have all day, you know. Sakura squints. Sensei, are you sure they'll be okay? They don't know any water jutsus. Our opponents do, Kakashi reassured her, and I do. The forest won't be burnt down, don't worry. Now, Tazuna, I really need the information. Or, we'll turn around and leave, because frankly, I don't think a team of genin and one jonin is a match for two chunin and their employer. It's just Tazuna freaked out. It's nothing big. It's just an old feud between. I said, Kakashi's eyes narrowed as he shunshined right in front of Tazuna, using that dramatic appearance. Employer. And you didn't react. Who's employing them? I'd suggest you not lie, Sakura chimes, sensei can be scary when he wants to. Well, Tazuna was finding the right words that didn't seem too immature or disrespectful. Naruto and Sasuke were dealing with two chunin nukinins, known as the Demon Brothers from Kurigakure. Pain. Kakakyu no jutsu. Sasuke called, so Naruto knew what he was doing. Naruto grinned. Fuden. Tatapa. The second huge fireball was powered by the wind surge, which freaked the Demon Brothers out. They were supposed to be genin. Not freaking chunin disguised as genin. The two joined chakras and forced out an equally big counter. Naruto landed next to Sasuke, both of them analyzing the situation. Sasuke talked first. Our attacks are the same strength, but since fire is naturally weak against water, they've got the upper hand. But both of our affinities aren't fire, Naruto continued, so we can beat them up. Wind and lightning don't really have any sort of good or bad relationship with water. Sasuke scowled. Why can't Usagi beat them up for us? Earth is strong against water. Teamwork, Naruto pointed at the two brothers, see? So we work together too. TOGET. I get it, Sasuke rolls his eyes. Stop treating me like a child. You're younger than me. Let's do this. Page Bushin no Jutsu. Naruto hissed. You know you don't have to. Shut up team, I like the names. Sasuke's eyes, knowing he couldn't convince Naruto otherwise. Let's get this over and done with. Dendu Hari Hiragari no Jutsu. Once Naruto saw the tips of the electric needles slowly forming on Sasuke's right arm, he sent out his clones to engage the two brothers in combat, biding time for Sasuke's needles. How long? Sasuke narrowed his eyes. 10 more seconds. The needles worked like this, the user focuses on only one spot on their body to grow the needles, and when forming, if someone touches it, they'll be stung mildly. But if the hit's stronger than the needle itself, or it gets attacked by someone else's chakra, then the needles disappear, which means the user needs to keep the needles safe and out of harm's way until the needles are ready to launch. Hence the reason why Naruto was buying time, wincing and cursing each time his clone was killed. 10 seconds are up, Naruto said, glancing at Sasuke. The raven-haired boy nods and leaps down behind of the brothers, delivering a kick and sending the needles right at his face. Ash the demon brother ate a needle, coughing and spluttering. I ain't heal me fat. You're not supposed to, Sasuke grunts, twisting around and kicking the Nukenin in the face. They're meant to shock and numb you. The Uchiha puffed, crouching over the ex-Kirinin who lay on the ground and jumped back just as the demon brother's hand shot up to grab his throat. That was supposed to knock you out. Little enough one war, the demon brother grinned. Little what? Sasuke taunted. I don't think I can hear you right, is it because you might be an uneducated little brat? I had a what? No, I seriously can't understand you. I had a nope, still can't understand you, you scum. The demon brother roared in anger and charged the Uchiha, but the boy was simply buying time. This time you'll pass out. A new set of needles flew from Sasuke's shoulder, tearing away his sleeve, and nailed the Nuken in the neck and chest. It gave the man a terrible shock, and before he could even process the fact that he couldn't feel his neck, Sasuke had already hooked his foot around the Nukenin's neck and slammed the demon brother's face into the ground. That's enough, Sasuke stood on top of him, stomping on the demon brother's back a few times. I think. Oi, dope. You done? Once upon a time, Naruto sang while dragging another unconscious demon brother behind him. There was a boy called Naruto Uzumaki. Ooh. He and his teammate Sasuke team beat up these. He threw his demon brother forwards. Idiots. Woo-oh. Sasuke sighed before pulling out rope from his thigh pouch. Let's tie him up, you opera idiot. Opera? Naruto grinned. You wanna hear opera? Ready? Naruto took a deep breath in, but before he could shriek at the top of his lungs, Sasuke stuffed a rope in his mouth and opened Naruto's thigh pouch to take Naruto's rope. Shut up already. Naruto spat the rope out. Geez, no appreciation for music these days. Sasuke rolls his eyes, expertly tying up his demon brother before hauling the man onto his shoulders. Naruto hums while doing the same, obviously in a good mood. The two of them, covered in a sheet of sweat, walked back onto the open road where Sakura was already pulling out medical supplies and Kakashi was asking ahem, interrogating some questions to Zuna. "Good job," Sakura praised, but then whacked them on the head. "Who told you to use fire? Baka. Now half the forest is on fire thanks to you and I bet it did nothing but waste chakra." Naruto chuckled sheepishly, glancing at Sasuke, and the two of them just realized that the demon brothers' counterattacks only deflected their fireballs, not completely snuffing them out. It also wastes their chakra. Sakura glared at him but wrapped his bleeding hand anyways and cleaned Sasuke's wounded shoulder, which came from him releasing his needles too early before it had fully developed. Both of them dropped their hostages with a sigh before waiting patiently for Sakura to do what she was doing. Kakashi walked over, beaming, leaving a shivering Tazuna behind. "Good job, you two. Now, I have to go deal with that." And when he said that, Kakashi jerked his head towards the raging fire in the background, a stormy look in his eye. Naruto squeaked. "Rabbit already scolded us. There's no need for you to do it too." Kakashi smiled at Sakura, ruffling her hair. "Good. Now, please excuse me." And, even though he was walking towards a fire, the Jonin walked casually into the trees, looking completely at ease. Tazuna gulped. "Scary. I told you," Sakura remarks, wrapping bandages around Sasuke's shoulder. "He's only really scary when you lie to him," Naruto muses, "remember when Team tried to lie his way out of punishment?" That Sasuke shuddered. "Was a mistake. The big one," Sakura agreed, before smiling and pulling away from her teammates. "There. Done." A huge sizzling sound came from inside the forest and Kakashi walked out moments later with nothing but smoke behind him. I smiled. "Let's get going." "Itadakimasu." Team 7 chimed together, picking up their chopsticks. Tsunami watches with a smile as her guests eat quite quickly, having gotten into the habit of eating quickly to be able to train more often. Eat. Thank you for bringing my father home safety, really." Kakashi smiles. "No, it's nothing. It's just our job." "Inari," Tazuna reprimands, "stop stuffing your face like a pig." The small 8-year-old pokes out his tongue. "No." Sakura nudges Naruto. "Reminds me of someone." "Not me." Naruto's response was impressively fast. Sasuke nods gravely in agreement. "Yes, you." "Done." Sakura exclaimed. "Ha. You two now owe me 2 tips each." The boys grumble, but agree nonetheless. They'd bet each other's tips during training to see who eats the fastest, and this time, Sakura won, and now they needed to give her 2 tips during training. But Naruto pouted. "It's rice. You eat rice quickly." "What, like you eat ramen fast, and Blue eats dango and sashimi fast?" Sakura retorts, crossing her arms. "You owe me." "They might," Kakashi smiled, "but it's most likely you'll give them tips. We're going to be doing the walking on water exercise tonight." "What?" Naruto gaped. "But sensei." Lesson 1, Kakashi deadpans, and Naruto instantly shuts up. "We're going to do it with a twist. We're going to do it with either freezing cold water or boiling hot water. It'll depend on my mood when you fall in." Depend. Sakura felt a bitter taste in her mouth. "On your mood. Eat less," Sasuke hisses at Naruto, who pushes his rice bowl away from him and smiles apologetically at Tsunami. "It isn't your cooking, Tsunami-san," Naruto gulped, "it's just Sensei likes to surprise us when we train." Tsunami watches, amused. "It's fine. This walking on water exercise, is it hard?" "Not particularly," Kakashi answers, "not for them. But, one miscalculation and you go tumbling into the water." "Good luck," Tsunami says, smiling as they excuse themselves from the table and Kakashi leads them to a small pond in the midst of all of the trees. The Jonin gestures to the water, inviting them to try. Sakura goes first. Timidly placing a foot on the water, she took shaky steps on the pond, getting used to emitting chakra off her feet. She knew the theory and intention behind this exercise, which made it easier for her to try the technique out. Like Naruto, she imagined chakra as a force, but it was a fire for her, and the more she fed the fire, the larger her chakra would be. It was like 2 fire points on her feet and she was feeding them constantly to get them to hold her on the water. "Good job," Kakashi says, next. Naruto runs onto the water, bellowing, "If Red can do it, so can I." And broke Sakura's concentration, sending the girl tumbling into the water. Naruto also sunk in on the first step, not emitting chakra on his feet despite rushing towards the pond, and they 2 of them went under. To abide by his word, Kakashi placed his palm on the water, pushing chakra out and making the water extremely cold. Sasuke gulped, taking an uncertain step back. Sakura broke the surface first, her hair coming out and her lips blue. "See cold," she stuttered, and Sasuke walked over to help her out. Naruto came up, gasping for breath. "I see can't feel me leg gs." Sakura glared at him. "Baka. I was doing so well." Sasuke again helped his teammate, hauling the boy out of the water. "Dope, you can't just charge onto the water." "How do you do it?" Naruto pouted. "Tell me how, sensei." Kakashi smiled. "I thought you'd ask." Naruto waited. Kakashi's face turned blank. "Figure it out yourself, fox brat." "And of course," Sasuke sighed, "we're on our own." "Not really," Sakura shivered, "I've got a good idea of what to do. Just imaging pushing chakra out of your feet because that's what you're supposed to be doing and it'll keep you afloat." Like Sasuke carefully stood on the water. "This, yeah." Sakura grinned. "Good job." Sasuke picked up a foot and placed it back down in front of him before taking another step and face planting into the water, which Kakashi happily made boiling hot, making the Uchiha yelp and pretty much fly out of the water, drenched. Sakura chuckled sheepishly. Walking requires you to continue emitting chakra on both feet, but you can lessen it as you lift your foot up. Don't just forget about your other foot, Blue. Of course, Sasuke nods before he was hit with a breeze. It felt normal to Kakashi, but it was warm to both Sakura and Naruto, but felt freezing cold to Sasuke. Kakashi smirked. This brings back good memories. How can you not do it? It's easy, a younger Kakashi said. Obito Uchiha snarls. Yeah, well only for you, Kakashi. Truly the golden boy of the generation, Rin agreed. Now how do you do it? It was winter, and they were training on the Cherry Blossom Lake, which Minato had happily melted for them to practice, but left the water freezing cold. The Jonin was talking to another sensei up on top of the hill just nearby, leaving Kakashi to supervise Team 7. You emit chakra from your feet, Kakashi said for the umpteenth time while walking onto the water with ease. And once you get the hang of it, you can learn to lessen your chakra as you walk. Lesson wa? Obito shook his head. Give something easy. Lesson 1, Kakashi whacked Obito's head, never complain. Now you're going to abide by those when I'm in charge. Freaking Chunin kid, Obito grumbled. Just imagine pouring out chakra from your foot, Kakashi mused, or maybe not pouring it. Pretend you have like a tube on the bottom of your feet and it's thin and narrow, and it reaches the bottom of the lake. Now push your chakra through that. And don't stop, or you'll fall. Rin nods slowly. A tube thin push chakra reaches bottom. Hey, you're doing it, Rin-chan. Obito cheered. Good job. Am I? Rin's eyes widened. That's. Kakashi snorts as she falls in. I thought we'd established that you had to continue concentrating. Minato appeared suddenly, behind Obito, freaking the genin out. How are we going? Bad. Obito complained. Kakashi's the worst teacher. Rin was shivering on the bank of the lake. Well, he gives good tips, but they're hard to follow for us genin. Lesson 1, Kakashi mutters, before sitting down cross-legged on the water. Minato sighed, before walking onto the water. He holds out a hand for Obito to grab, and the Uchiha lets his sensei pull him onto the water. Now I want you to focus, sensei. I can do it. Kakashi looked up, seeing Naruto and Sasuke standing timidly on the water, not daring to walk, as Sakura was trying to jump from one side to the other without falling in. Good job, Fox. What's the time now? Sasuke squints at the sky. You about 11 something. Kakashi looks up. 11:24. Close. Now, you're all going to get a good night's sleep, alright. Then we'll try walking. Hi. The three of them bowed before rushing inside to the warmth where they could take a warm shower and get rid of their shivering. Kakashi hummed, straightening, before walking up a tree and stood lightly on the top branch. He flexed his fingers before calling for his shadow clones. They all knew what Kakashi wanted and split up into trios and landed on a tree in each group. Group 7. Kakashi called. He always did that. It was always Group 7 first. As he fought against himself, he mused about letting Naruto do shadow clone work. Now it would seem like a good idea, but would exhaust his chakra for a whole day when he first begins, so with the shadow of an employer who hired Nukenin, that wasn't ideal. Maybe Kakashi would let him do it after this to speed up his progress before the Chunin exams. Now about his other students. He couldn't teach them the Kage Bushin, no, they didn't have the characteristics of a Jinchuriki for the training to be effective. Sakura was already like a nurse, so some training in medical ninjutsu would be good. Oh, but then he'd need to ask the kids to choose what they wanted to specialize in. Kakashi smiled as one of his clones pulled a familiar roundhouse feint and instead Sunshine behind him, and a punch was on its way to the back of the real Kakashi's head. The Haddock remembered using that during one of his Anbu missions, earning the nickname Shunshin Trickster in his current Anbu team. Ducking and swirling around with his leg outstretched, Kakashi wasn't surprised to see his clone jump over his leg. After all, he was fighting against himself. But it was a sudden chakra spike that made him stop, holding up a hand. Hold it. A hinged clone of his stumbled forwards, clothes tattered. Real me. Sup. Kakashi narrowed his eyes. What happened? He's the clone groaned. He's hired Zabuza Mamachi. The demon of the mist, Kakashi muses, and what happened? Because I'm a clone and I'm hinged, I did minimum damage. He'll probably have a sore right leg for the time being. That's okay. Wanna be replaced? Yes. Righto, Team 2 number 3. Can you take over this clone's job? Oh, and have the same hinge please. Hi. Kakashi nods at the clone, thanks it, before it poofs away, out of existence. Let's continue training. Recap. Kakashi nods at the clone, thanks it, before it poofs away, out of existence. Let's continue training. It was 2 am. The earliest Kakashi had even gotten up his team. Wakey wakey, Kakashi chirped, time to get up. All three of them groaned. Sakura hid under the covers, Naruto rolled onto his side to continue sleeping, and Sasuke covered his eyes with a hand. Kakashi's smile faded. "Oi, wretches. You've got 1 minute and I want to see you at the front door." Kakashi shined away, and his genin shot out of bed. They all slept on the floor without blankets, despite Tsunami's protests. As Kakashi explained, it was for them to get used to it with nothing but their cloaks over their old gear, but even if it was cold, they all abided by lesson 1. 1 minute, Sakura muttered, bolting to her feet and combing her fingers through her hair. "Where's my headband?" "Here," Naruto tossed it to her. "Team, here's yours. Let's go before sensei gets mad," Sasuke murmurs, before opening the door, waiting for his teammates to ready themselves. All they really needed to do was put their headbands on, tie their thigh pouches on and crack their knuckles, and they were done. Kakashi's lecture when they had slept without their gear on, which happened earlier in the week, had really gotten the genin into sleeping in their gear. "Cloaks on," Sakura reminded them, giving the boys theirs as the 3 of them sprinted to the front door. Kakashi had managed to get the white number 7 etched onto their black cloaks before they left, and it gave the genin a sense of teamwork, unity and companionship when they wore it together. Kakashi was there waiting, as was Tazuna. "Good job, brats." 1 minute. Tazuna was speechless. "Actually came in 1 minute, that was fast." "Hi," Sakura nods. "Where are we going?" "To the bridge," Kakashi replies. "What for?" Sasuke's brow furrowed. "Our mission's done. We'll escort him to the bridge and then come back," Kakashi says. Naruto yawns, before grinning. "Well, what are we waiting for? Let's go." "Trust Naruto to have so much energy in the morning," Sakura mutters, eyes still droopy. "It's 2 am, baka. We've slept for 3 hours. Why are we going to the bridge at 2 in the morning?" Sasuke asked, stretching as they made their way slowly through the mist to the bridge. The genin had no idea which way they were going, and apparently neither did Kakashi, so they all trailed behind Tazuna. Kakashi shrugged. "He wants to. It's safer in the morning," Tazuna mutters, "no one around." "You mean?" Sasuke narrowed his eyes, "no one around to assassinate or attack you?" Tazuna doesn't reply. Naruto shifts uncomfortably in his orange jacket for the millionth time, and Sakura tugs at her skirt to make it lower, both of them still not used to wearing their old clothes. Sasuke, however, was glancing back at his Uchiha crest every now and then, as if confirming it was still there, but was otherwise perfectly fine with his clothing. Kakashi smiled under his mask. "At least they like their new Team 7 uniform." "That's the bridge," Tazuna gulped. "See?" "Nope," Naruto says cheerfully, "the fog's too thick." "Are you sure we're in the right spot?" "Naruto, blow it away." "Hi, sensei." "Futen." "Tatapa." "You don't need to yell it." "But sensei." "Mutter it or something." "Okay." As the fog cleared, there were 4 people there waiting, as if they knew Tazuna and his bodyguards were coming. They blocked the way to the bridge, all of them armed, the shine of metal littered around their bodies. 2 of them looked familiar, one was famous, and another one was hidden behind a mask. "The demon brothers," Sasuke hissed, "how are they here?" "Easy," Naruto shrugged, as if at ease, except for his hand creeping closer to his thigh pouch. "Someone cut them free, and it isn't someone good." "I'm sure that the road patrol was coming after us," Sakura grumbled. "You're not wrong," Kakashi nods, "but they came before the patrol." Zabuza Mamachi. The infamous Nukenin smirked. Kakashi Haddock. Kakashi I smiled. "Oh, am I famous now? That's nice to know." "Kill them all," Zabuza called. "Leave Haddock to me." "Protect Azuna at all costs," Kakashi orders, as the masked person it looked like a girl, but the body shape said otherwise, and the demon brothers charged. The masked person, who walked with grace and looked featherlight, was an interesting contrast to the demon brothers, who were heavy and clambering towards the Sasuke and Naruto. Naruto grins. "Alright." He bellows. "Let's have a rematch, knuckleheads." Sasuke rolled his eyes, pulling out 2 kunai in each hand. "You're the knucklehead." "I'm taking that as a compliment." Naruto replies, and the 2 of them jog to meet the 2 demon brothers, who looked all too happy to battle against the 2 boys. "Sakura, take him." "Is that a guy?" "I think." "Now I'll take Mamachi, so be careful." "Hi, sensei." Zabuza smiled sadistically. "Haku, rip her apart." "Hi." Haku's voice was emotionless, and the boy darted around Sakura, whose mind was analyzing the situation carefully. Kakashi closed his eyes, pulled up his hit I-8, and opened both mismatch's eyes, the red one swirling hypnotically. He was going to need this Sharingan if he wanted to be able to fight Zabuza Mamachi, an A-rank Nukenin, and protect Azuna at the same time. He trusted his students, he really did, but something felt off. The air smelled stale, the water was odorless, which was weird because water usually smells, and Kakashi could smell the scent of snakes on their opponents. Something was off. Sakura stood opposite of Haku, eyes alert. Haku stood there, motionless, only the occasional twitch of his hands. Sakura narrowed her eyes. She leant down, touching the ground, seeing Haku's eyes shine with alert as Sakura touched the ground. The Sakura shot up, bounding back a bit, and Haku did the same. The girl smiled to herself. So he didn't know anything about her, but she also didn't know anything about him. Shanro. Sakura muttered, slamming her hand on the ground, making the ground underneath them rumbled and turn upside down. Haku's eyes widened, but then jumped gracefully from one stone to another, maintaining his balance. He raised an arm, landing lightly out of Sakura's rock area. Hijutsu. Makyo Hyasho. Sakura had no time to leap out of the danger zone, ice mirrors appeared all around her, but the weird thing was, they started to melt as soon as they were formed. Haku leaped into a mirror, appearing everywhere. Sakura grunts and throws a chakra-infused punch at a melting mirror, but did nothing but a tiny scratch. "I'm not going to get out," Sakura muttered. "But they're melting. Kuzo, if only Blue was here." Haku in the mirrors held up a hand, the melting stopped, shifting and blending in with the rest of the mirrors. Sakura's eyes widened in horror. "I have now impaired your vision of your teammates," Haku smiles softly, "though they will hear you. The mirrors won't be penetrated by anything from the outside, it can only be destroyed by me or a large attack from you, which I highly doubt will happen." Sakura growled. "Mirrors my ass, it's a gigantic mirror dome." And it was. With the melting at the start, the mirrors had molded into a totally different form. Instead of forming a makeshift dome using rectangular mirrors, all of the mirrors had connected and now created one mirror dome, completely surrounding Sakura, who couldn't see past the ice. She had no idea how the others were going, and Kakashi now didn't either, as Sakura and Haku were in the middle of Kakashi and the boys. "I apologize if this hurts too much," Haku bows, and all of his reflections copy him. "But if Zabuza-sen orders it, I shall do it." "Fuck." Sakura let out a hiss as 3 senbon embed themselves into her arm. She closed her eyes, cursing her bad luck. She wasn't the fast one, no, she was the strong one. She had no idea what to do against ice release, isn't that a Kekkei Genkai anyways? And even if she did, that mirror dome was practically invulnerable. "You can just stay still and I can kill you with one shot," Haku suggested in the mirror, as if he had never left in the first place. Sakura grit her teeth. Lesson 13, never give up. This one may seem obvious, but since you brats need to hear it again, lesson 13 is never give up. Understood? Now go do that Taijutsu formation or I'll zap you to hell and back. Haku tilted his head to the side. "I'm sorry, I don't understand." "You're not supposed to," Sakura grunts, "I am going to murder you." "I unfortunately cannot accept that," Haku flashed back and forth, nailing senbon at Sakura's exposed body. But some of them bounced off of her not anbu cloak, frustrating Haku to no ends. Sakura had used the cloak as a shield, covering her body with it as she crouched. She picked out the senbon, hissing quietly as more hit her. Sakura narrowed her eyes. There was no poison or anything on the senbon, so it was better to leave them inside her body to stop the bleeding. Sakura closed her eyes. One of her traits that Kakashi had picked up on was that she thought like a Nara. She analyzed the situation first, and if she was up against an opponent greater in power than her caution switch would turn on and instantly be on defense. That wasn't necessarily a bad thing, but always being on defense wasn't good either. Sakura took in a deep breath before standing up, letting herself be vulnerable. If she thought like a Nara, well, she'll use that to her advantage. "Nice to see y'all again," Naruto bowed before straightening quickly, "and I hope I don't see y'all again. Futen. Tatapa." Sasuke watched from the side as Naruto's gigantic gust blew at a frightening speed, aimed straight at the demon brothers. But as Sasuke was about to launch forwards and defeat one with Taijutsu, the two of them leapt to the side, their chain broken in half, not by Naruto, but it seemed like it was detachable. "Woo," Naruto retreated, "they're faster." "Lutch." Sasuke's eyes narrowed. "Hey back." One bellowed. Sasuke tried taunting. "What's your name again?" "Something that means ugly." "Oh whoops, ugly doesn't even compare to you." "It's Gozu," the man yelled. "And you're paying for what you did." Naruto sidestepped Gozu's attack, letting Sasuke deal with him. That left the other brother and Naruto. The other man, with a gauntlet on his right hand, started to spin the chain menacingly. "Dude," Naruto dodged all the attacks, but one managed to graze him. "You couldn't do that last time." The demon brother bared his teeth. "There's something called training." "Kuzo," Naruto cursed, "you use poison." Diving himself a good distance away from the demon brother, Naruto ripped a part of his shirt off and tied it tightly around his bicep, his forearm already turning purple from where he was grazed. "It's Maizu, not Kuzo." The Nuken and deadpans. Naruto smiled cheerfully. "I never asked, scum." Maizu growled. "Children are so infuriating these days, Hiya." Naruto barely dodged a flying chain, eyes bulging at the sight of the chain cracking down on the ground, creaking a crack in the soil. These Nukenin had powered up by a lot. A lot. The Jinchuriki flipped and landed lightly, still dodging attacks, not able to get close to do anything. Naruto blocked a chain attack using his kunai, but his blade shattered against Maizu's, and Naruto leapt back and his back hit someone else's. Is it just me or duck are they superpowered? Naruto said, not even glancing back. Sasuke grunts, his back against Naruto's. Not just you. There they joined chains, be careful, way more powerful than last time. This guy couldn't even do decent jutsu last time, and now he's better than me. We're going to do our ultimate jutsu. Gozu bellowed. Lesson 11, Sasuke hissed. Got it, Naruto nods, before focusing deeply on his chakra, not even reacting when Sasuke turned around and leapt on him, clutching the boy tightly. Futen. Tatapa. The hurricane-like wind blew downwards, and the two genin shot up into the air. Naruto had angled it so they would fly backwards, out of the danger zone. The two brothers had bellowed, Suiten. Daibakufu no Jutsu. The water from the lake nearby rose up to meet the sky and came barreling towards the spot the two genin were supposed to be, but they were still caught in the water, having underestimated the attack's height. Sasuke broke the surface first, coughing and paddling towards the only orange thing he could see. And when he reached it, he cursed. It was just the jacket. Over here, Naruto called, coughing up blood. He had been slammed straight onto Haku's ice dome, his back severely damaged. Ah, I think you're by yourself. Crap, Sasuke shrugged off his jacket and laid over Naruto. Heal as quickly as possible, dope. Naruto gave him a weak thumbs up. I'll try, Dadabeo. Sasuke nods and stands up shakily, his eyes a red color with a spinning tomo. Even if he only had two tomos in one and one in the other, it was still the Sharingan. The two demon brothers freeze at the sight. I thought they both died, Gozu muttered. His brother blanched. Obviously not. I am going to murder you. Sasuke grunted, applying chakra to the bottom of his feet and bolting towards the Nukenin without them even realizing. So, Haddock, Zabuza approaches the Jonin slowly, are you sure your students can hold against mine? Kakashi eye smiles again. Yes. After all, they can definitely beat half-assed attempts at creating a genius student. Shut the fuck up, Hokage pet, Zabuza spat. We all know that if it wasn't for the Sandame's smothering, you'd be one of us. Kakashi shrugged, shoving Tazuna back roughly as Zabuza advanced. Maybe, maybe not. But here we are now, and I don't regret staying in the village. I get to take care of these three brats, see? Well then die, Zabuza sneered, Kakashi Haddock, known as the Hokage's spoiled pet. You know, Kakashi remarks, the same insult usually doesn't work twice. Zabuza pulled out his sword, leaping forwards to slice the Jonin in half. Kakashi's face turned to stone. But that hurt. I'm going to murder you. The Nukenin faltered a bit, hearing the Kai in Kakashi's voice, and the air felt charged with electricity. Zabuza's attack lacked strength, and so Kakashi easily stopped it and twisted around to kick Zabuza in the face. He did, but then Zabuza melted away into a puddle of water. Using clones are we? Kakashi smirked. Right up my alley. Kage Bushin no Jutsu. Going into a full-on clone battle, Kakashi could almost feel himself in every clone, fighting as they fought against Zabuza's water clones. Of course, shadow clones were more effective, but with Kakashi's Sharingan out and having to keep constant awareness, Kakashi was losing the clone battle. Losing your touch are we? Zabuza mocked, appearing behind the Jonin. Right up my alley. Suiten. Suiten no Jutsu. The Beato's eye easily copied the hand seals, and Kakashi dodged the huge water stream coming from Zabuza's mouth. The Konohinin slid to a stop on the ground, hands blurring together. Suiten. Suiten no Jutsu. Zabuza blocked the attack using his gigantic sword, which Kakashi identified as Kubikirabacho, one of the swords used by the seven swordsmen of the mist. It could regenerate if it could get a bit of blood, and Kakashi's wasn't planning on doing that. Tazuna, Kakashi appeared beside the old man, run. Eh? Tazuna was still processing the fact that he might actually die here. I said, Kakashi blocked an attack before decapitating another water clone. Run. Alright, Tazuna turned to bolt when another Zabuza appeared, blocking his way. Oh hell no, I was hired to fucking kill you, Zabuza grinned before swinging with Kubikirabacho, aiming for Tazuna's neck. Kakashi shunshined at the perfect time, catching the blade with his bare hands, blood leaking out from his gloves. I said run. Kakashi's voice was cold and left no room for argument. Now. Hi, Tazuna squeaked, running into the mist, blindly making his way back to his house. Kakashi sighed in relief, locking eyes with Zabuza. I'm going to kill you. Lovely, Zabuza grunts, before smirking. But I'll kill you first. Kubikirabacho regenerated from where Kakashi's multiple kunai scratched it, but what Kakashi didn't expect was it to continue growing and stabbed right through Kakashi's hand, aiming for his chest. Yanking his hand out of the blade and dodging the attack, Kakashi hissed as he felt his hand pour out blood. Now this wasn't good. Kubikirabacho had an upgrade, and who knew if Zabuza did. So close, Zabuza pouted like a child, I'll get you next time, copy ninja. Kakashi took in a deep breath, his red eye morphing into something different. Not if I get you first. Sir, leave me, Gato orders, shooing away his bodyguards. Now. But I'll have you killed, the rich man remarked offhandedly, succeeding in shutting up his subordinate. Slamming the door behind him, Gato locked it before collapsing on the ground, wheezing for air. "Ah," a voice said from the dark, "you're back. And late by 2 minutes. I had to deal with." "Not good enough," the voice tuts, "you said it yourself, remember? You want power. And I can't give it to you every time you come late by a few minutes." Gato coughed, still gasping for air. Breathe. "Ah, alright." The voice sounded suspiciously like it was trying its hardest not to laugh. Gato breathed in deep breaths as soon as he could and sighed and sat back on the floor. "It's only 102. 103. The voice sighs. You couldn't even tell if the person was male or female, the voice was like a mesh in between. Gato thought it was what those ninjas did, some sort of mana thing, was it? To be able to do literally anything. The rich businessman always thought it was something like magic, but after hiring some, he realized that they really like killing people, well most of the ones he hired, and they only really specialized in one element. "Sorry," Gato rolled his eyes. Then he couldn't breathe anymore. "Who is it that came to me begging for money and power?" The voice taunts. "I'm sorry." Gato choked. "Fine." The voice sighs. "You need to go through stage 2 now. Have fun." Gato's eyes widened as his neck starts to shoot burning pain, and his sight blurred. His tiny sunglasses fell and shattered on the ground, and he stumbled to his desk, sitting down and gasping for air as the pain shot through his system. "Stop it." No answer. "Did you not hear me? I said stop it." No answer. "Fucking ninja and his tricks." I said. A spasm. "Stop it." Another spasm. No answer. The shinobi watched from the shadows, looking quite happy with his work. He wondered why it was classified as kenjutsu, why forbid it when it does such a good job at making people suffer and force them into submission. This was interesting and fun. Playing with civilians who thought they were incredibly powerful just because they had money, PFFT, naive idiots, was just so much fun, and then crushing their hopes at the end was the best. It just showed how weak people were. But no, he wasn't going to be like that. He was going to be the best of the best. Invulnerable. Immortal. Untouchable. A god. But first, he had to complete his research. Oh, and finish off Gato. Entertainment was soon going to be over. Gaara was sitting cross-legged, making miniature war soldiers using his sand, forcing them to kill each other as entertainment. He sat on the rooftop of the Kazakage Tower, watching over his city quietly and unnoticed. He liked being unnoticed. His father ever saw him as a weapon to be used, his siblings, even if they said they loved him, feared him, and everyone else treated him like a monster. Not like that was wrong, though. He was a monster. A container with a monster inside. "Kill," Gaara whispered. "Die. Unloved. No one misses you. Die. 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 Die." "Boy," Shukaku hisses, "what do you think you're doing?" Gaara ignores the voice. "It's always been there. Sometimes right. Sometimes wrong. But it was a monster." I said, "What are you doing? Don't ignore me, bastard." "You're the bastard," Gaara muttered before standing up. "I want to go play." "No one likes you, kid. Just accept it. Go find someone like you then. Someone else with my kind." "I don't want to leave." Gaara looked up at the sky. "I like it here." "No, you don't. Now shoo, your father's calling." "I hate him," Gaara says stubbornly, but still drops down from the tower and uses his sand to enter the Kazakige's office through the window. The fourth Kazakige wasn't surprised, not even looking up from his paperwork and tugging his cage hat down a little. "Sit." "Yes, father." The Redeed sits down as his siblings file into the room, both of them laughing with each other. As soon as they saw Gaara, they quietened down and sat in their spots. "Father?" Temari asked timidly. "What is this meeting about?" "You will be attending the Chunin exams in Konohagakure," Rasa said stiffly, "as well as infiltrating for our Konoha attack mission." Tenkuro nods slowly. "Okay, makes sense. All three of you," the yondaime emphasizes. "I'm going?" Gaara questioned. He was usually cooped up inside Sunagakure for safety reasons, and while his siblings took on genin missions, he was just ordered not to rampage or do anything stupid. "Yes," Rasa smiled sadistically, "you, our ultimate weapon. With you, we can crush Konoha." All three children had no idea where this desire to destroy Konohagakure came from, but it wasn't like they were going to provoke him by asking. Temari then asked, "Do we show our skills during the exam?" "Not anything powerful," the Kazakige replied. "I want them to be taken by surprise. I want to see them scream." "Okay." Kenkuro nods. "So we basically flunk the exam so we can beat them up afterwards." "Oh yes," the yondaime grins, "understood. I want you to train thrice as hard as usual." "Hi." Temari and Kankuro stand up to leave, with Gaara and Rasa left in the room. Rasa turns to Gaara. "Don't mess anything up." "Yes." Gaara leaves too, a heavy feeling on his heart. He just wanted to. He didn't know what he wanted to do. This wasn't new. Maybe he just wanted to kill some people. It's worked before for this heavy feeling. Sometimes when Gaara felt like this, he'd want to see blood. His own, someone else's, someone's as they die, it all works. Gaara hums to himself, locking himself in his room as he goes to the end suite. Standing there in the mirror, the boy suddenly wished he didn't look so much like his father. Sand, he cooed softly, and the sand sharpened into a knife and slowly drew blood on Gaara's arm. Ah, makes me feel better. Bastard, stop harming yourself. Gaara snapped, it's none of your business, monster. Please. This is unhealthy, not good for you. I don't want to be sealed in some other worse bastard, okay? Just stop it. I won't listen to you, Gaara sneers, deeper. The sand obliged, and it was tainted a deep maroon as it cut deeper into Gaara's arm. You're going to hit a vein, bastard. Stop it. I won't stop, Gaara smiles at himself in the mirror, I won't stop. Letting the blood drip onto his hand, the Jinchuriki slammed his red left hand onto the mirror, the sound echoing as the red liquid slowly trickled down the glass. Gaara watched the red flow down all the way to the sink, marveling at the beauty of the color. When it was thick, it was dark. When it was thin, it was light. When it was dry, it was dark. When it was fresh, it was light. Geez kid, stop it. I'm trying to heal you here. Never, Gaara smiled at himself in the mirror, the blood seemingly on his face. It feels too good. Bastard. Never, bastard. You could die. You know what? I could care less. I could die. Then maybe I should kill father before I do. Gaara softly sang to himself, completely oblivious to the fact that the Ichibi had actually tried to help him. The one-tailed beast huffed and swore never to help this ungrateful brat ever again. What was the Bijuu thinking, actually offering advice to a human? Those things knew nothing, except wanting power and power this and power that. Shukaku growled. Greedy humans. Junin exams in Konohagakure can kill people there, Shukaku snorts. Not to mention his container is this half-insane child who had more bloodlust than the whole shinobi village combined. Recap Shukaku snorts. Not to mention his container is this half-insane child who had more bloodlust than the whole shinobi village combined. Naruto opened his eyes and found himself in some underground water system, which apparently wasn't great, with water all over the ground and was getting Naruto's toes wet. Eh? The boy cocks his head sideways. What's this place? Seems like you finally found me, a voice said from behind. Naruto whirled around to see the Kyuubi behind golden bars, front pawns crossed and a menacing glare on the fox's face. The boy gasped dramatically. That's why sensei calls me a fox. That's why everyone calls me a fox. You. Kurama blinked. Are you mad because of that? Boy you, Naruto growled, sensei told me about you. Tailed beast blah blah, I didn't understand anything but a huge animal with a lot of chakra to spare. The what? This was not the reaction the tailed beast was accepting. He was expecting something more Minato-like. Like, charge at him with the intent to seal him back somewhere and like to smile a lot as he was saying the jutsu that was about to take his life. But no, the Kyuubi got Kushina-like. And even in the Bijuu's mind, Minato was better. Much better. A huge animal. Naruto squinted. Are you half deaf or something? Do I need to learn sign language to be able to communicate with you? Communicate. Kurama leaned forwards, sneering. No, no way. We here are not in a partnership of any kind. You let me out, I won't kill you. Naruto shook his head, grinning. You can't kill me anyways. Oi, since you live here with me, you gotta give rent. Understood. When I want your red chakra, you give it. Or I'll never release you. The Bijuu snorts. You won't release me in the end, anyways. Says who? Naruto bellowed. I, Naruto Uzumaki, swear to release the Kyuubi if I think he's not dangerous enough to kill anyone good or go on a rampage or destroy Konoha again or hate my teammates and sensei or he's my enemy, but if he's my friend he won't be sealed anymore or if he tries to kill any good Konohanin or. You talk a lot, kid. Kurama smirks. Alright. We'll do that. Not like the seal weakens if I give you my chakra anyways. Don't even think about wearing out the seal. Naruto beamed. Sensei says he knows someone who knows the key to re-strengthening it and I'll learn it soon, Dadabeo. Kurama hissed. He definitely underestimated the kid. Okay, you have thought of a lot. Course, Naruto shuddered, I had to sit down and learn all about you this one time when Sakura-chan got to do Taijutsu work and Sasuke team got to work on his Sharingan. Not fair. Kurama growls. You want my chakra or not, twat? Stop being so mean to me. I'm your owner, you know. I'm your container who had to deal with lugging you around, fox. Naruto retorts, before giving the gigantic fox a thumbs up, which somehow confused the Bijuu at his sudden attitude change. Let's do this. Naruto's vision swam and cleared, but this time he was looking at the dull gray sky of Saturday morning at 2:23 am. He felt his ribs, and they were on the way to being healed. He felt his supposedly dislocated shoulder, it was fine, with a tiny sting of pain. He felt his formerly bleeding head. It was sticky, but no new blood was there. Alrighty. Naruto hopped up onto his feet, unbalanced for a bit, but steadied himself. his hands creating his most beloved seal, with a smirk on his face. Kage Bushin no Jutsu. Naruto clones appeared, but their eyes were red and teeth were bared and sharp. Naruto blanched. Look normal, geez. Now let's go help out Sasuke team. A team of about a dozen clones charged forwards, taking Maizu head-on as Naruto leapt down to help Sasuke, who was sweating a river and was puffing like he'd run a marathon. The raven-haired boy peered up as Naruto saved him from an oncoming attack. "You're late. Omen," Naruto said sincerely, "the Kyuubi took longer than expected to convince to lend me his chakra." "Boy kid, I'm right here you know." "I know," Naruto nods as he fights with new energy and manages to push Gozu backwards, making the Nukenin retreat. "But please shut up so I can concentrate." "No promises," Sasuke said for Kurama with a slight smile, sliding past his teammate's defense and delivered a powerful kick at Gozu's stomach, making the man fly and land painfully on his back. The demon brother cried out in pain, rolling around. Sasuke pulls out his kunai and tackles him quickly, pushing the kunai against the Nukenin's neck. "I'm warning you," Naruto yelled, ducking under Maizu's chain attack. "You'd better stop or team'll slice your bro's neck open." "They're children," Maizu sneers, of course he wouldn't kill someone. Sasuke looked coldly down at Gozu, who fearfully looked back up. "You hear that? Well, too bad." "Dope." Naruto nods. "Do it." And Sasuke's hand moved and Gozu's scream was cut short, warm thick red blood coating Sasuke's hands. Sighing, his Sharingan powered off and the Uchiha fell to the side of the dead demon brother, panting as the chakra exhaustion caught up with him. "You. Eyes on me." Naruto's chakra-coated shuriken was thrown so hard at Maizu's chest that it came out the other side. Naruto blinked, puffing, before smiling slightly. "Thanks, Kyuubi-kun. You helped me out there." Maizu looked blankly down at his chest, marveling at the sight of his blood and the shuriken which tore through his body, before face planting into the ground, blood coming out from the corners of his mouth. Naruto's clones, which had all been defeated by Maizu but had used up all of the demon brother's energy in exchange were gone, and all that was left was an exhausted Naruto walking slowly to a Sasuke who was fleeting in between consciousness and unconsciousness. "We did it, team." Naruto sighed, collapsing next to his teammate. Sasuke nods weakly. "You know, you're not all that bad, dope." "Same to you," Naruto grinned and held up a fist. Sasuke looked at it for a while, before huffing and giving Naruto a fist bump. "That was a one-time thing." "Of course. Don't sound so smug." "Of course. Shut up and let me sleep peacefully." "Hold on, what about Usagi-chan?" "Oh, frick." Kakashi was in a similar state to Sasuke, both of them overusing their Sharingan. He was landing quite ungracefully every time he dodged an attack, but still managed to stay on his feet, like the capable Konohinin he was. Zabuza launched forwards, swiping Kubikirabacho to cleave off Kakashi's head. But that Kakashi turned into smoke and the real one appeared behind the Nukenin, a katana in hand. Kakashi hasn't used a sword like this in full-on battle since his old anbu times because it always brought back too many memories, but always packed one just in case. The two blades meet, with Zabuza turning around with frightening speed. The copy nin was the first to pull away, his blade lighter and weaker, but much faster. Zabuza could see that Kakashi was getting tired, but so was he, and he couldn't keep up with the copy nin's speed and small but multiple attack approach. The Haddock also always retreated after every attack, so Kubikirabacho's new morphing skill wouldn't work. "Enough," Zabuza growled. "Suiton. Hahanu." A gigantic torrent of water sped towards Kakashi, and the ex-Anbu captain just managed to escape unscathed, but wasn't able to escape the next one. Suiton. Hidoro Panpu. The first thing Kakashi thought was that Zabuza liked to yell the names like Naruto, before he was struck with the most powerful water jutsu he had even been hit with, and the Jonin flew a couple hundred meters away, rolling and coughing up blood and unsteadily used his katana to stand up. It was a pity that his Ninken was on another mission from the Hokage which Kakashi found unreasonable, but wouldn't argue with the old man, or else Zabuza would be long dead and he wouldn't have to go through all this pain. "Why aren't you doing any jutsus?" Zabuza swung Kubikirabacho expertly around. "Saving up for something. I'll kill you before that happens." Kakashi coughed up more red. Yeah, whatever. "Actually do it will you, don't just dream about it and do nothing." Zabuza charged with a battle cry, Kubikirabacho twisting and shaping a totally new shape, which looked like a weird lopsided version of a shuriken on a stick. Kakashi sighed and blocked the attack with his katana, not even reacting when his blade shattered, but kicked Zabuza's stomach instead and knocked the Nukenin back a couple of meters. Tossing aside his now useless hilt, Kakashi backed away, fishing inside his thigh pouch for something. Anything. And pulled out senbon. Very familiar looking senbon. "Oh fuck it," Kakashi muttered, flexing his fingers and placing the senbon in between his fingers. The senbon shined a clear white and Kakashi's mind was suddenly brought back to when Obito died. This was stupid. He was going to let down his team again and be the only one left alive again, and there was probably no one left to help him. But the white glow felt warm in his hands and the jonin of Konohagakure grit his teeth. Well, he was going to die trying anyways. Zabuza's water clone appeared in front of him, but Kakashi just brushed past it, identifying it using his Sharingan. Seeing the real one nearby, Kakashi used some of his reserve chakra and shunshined right next to him, stabbing the Nukenin with his Senbon right in the chest. But the Zabuza went into a choking fit, stumbling backwards. Kakashi smiled sadistically. Senbon created from the shards of my old sword. What was it called again? White chakra saber or something. Too bad I didn't take care of it, or else I would have embedded the whole thing in your pitifully disgusting face. Zabuza ripped it out of his neck, thrusting it back at Kakashi, who skillfully dodged. I'ma kill you. You've said that a tad too many times, Kakashi I smiled, but dodged Zabuza's swinging attack. Poking his hand back into his pocket, Kakashi yanked out more Senbon and thrust the white metal straight at Zabuza's face, but was blocked by the twisting blade of Kubikirabacho. Zabuza smirked. Why not use Mangekyo again? Scared? Or maybe you can't. Kakashi cursed. He had used a strong Jinjutsu on Zabuza, which led to him almost killing Zabuza within the first 5 minutes of their match, but then Kakashi's Mangekyo Sharingan flickered off, as this was the first time he'd used it since he quit Anbu, and to be honest, he swore he was close to being blind from using it. But no, Kakashi leapt backwards, crouching down to catch his breath. He was bordering the thin line between adrenaline and chakra exhaustion, and the Jonin did not like it. This is stupid, Kakashi mutters, I need to finish you off. Zabuza, who was also close to being completely exhausted, leaned against Kubikirabacho for support. Same here. Just die, will you? At least your brats can say you died honorably at the hand of Zabuza Mamachi. Oh wait, they'll probably be dead too. Fuck off, Kakashi forced his left eye back open again, despite his eyes already crying tears of blood. Look into my eye, dipshit. Zabuza laughs, but does. What, you wouldn't believe how many people have fallen for that, Kakashi mutters, activating the Sharingan. Zabuza, who had no strength, fell to his knees, coughing up blood. I am not going to fall victim to that, Urkiri. Zabuza's mouth sprouted a fountain of red before he looked with wide eyes at Kakashi, whose hand was still encased with lightning. The sound of birds echoed in the background as Zabuza's eyes dimmed and he fell limp. Kakashi huffed, stumbling back, his jutsu turning off, the blue light fading as he hunched over, trying to back his breath. Then the Konohagakure glanced back at Zabuza's dead corpse, musing at how that was a scarily close call. That hasn't happened in a while, and it was refreshing to the copy ninja at how there were other skilled people out there. Well, Kakashi sighed, I killed you first, even if you whined about killing me the most. And now, I get to wretches. God damn it. You're good, Haku murmurs, but not good enough. Sakura grit her teeth, trying her hardest not to think about the fact she looked more like a porcupine than a human being. Oh really? Who says I'm done? Look at yourself. Haku sounded like he was smirking, but Sakura couldn't tell because of the hunter nin mask. She had finally identified his mask in the midst of being a live target for Haku, not being able to do any damage to him. Sakura smiled faintly. You really do underestimate me, you think I've just been dodging this whole time? I'm going to send you to hell and back before you ultimately go to Satan. Come at me, baka. Haku sighed before attacking Sakura again, his respect for the girl growing larger and larger. She was only genin, but was still standing up even if she was close to falling and accepting defeat. Sakura's eyes closed and Haku's widened. This girl's planned something. Veering off to the left, Haku aimed and shot, but was surprised to see Sakura poof off. A clone. Something embedded itself into Haku's body, and the boy jumped back into the mirror. Sakura, who was somehow right in front of him, opened her eyes with a smile. I hit you. Haku looked down. You. A shuriken was there, in his thigh, and warm blood trickling down his right leg. Haku sneered. Lucky shot. He attacked. He ended up with a kunai stuck dangerously deep into his shoulder, more blood coming out, and Sakura was puffing, but otherwise unharmed. Predictable, Sakura mutters, a sense of accomplishment rushing through her. Finally. She could finally put her plan into action. Haku kept trying to attack Sakura, but the girl only countered, but substituting herself so quickly Haku thought she was teleporting at light speed. She used everything, her own clones, discarded kunai, even Haku's senbon she sometimes tore out of her body to place all around the dome. Anukanen growled and tackled her this one time, not even aiming for an escape route, and pinned her to the ground. You can't. Awarimi no jutsu. Sakura beamed, her right hand forming the set of seals. Haku landed uncomfortably on a set of his own senbon, and he chuckled dryly as he pulled them out of his stomach. So you can do it with one hand. Lame sensei, Sakura was behind him with a kunai against his neck. He's the one who had us do an ear rank with one hand. Haku breathed in, calming himself. Your sensei is a very good teacher, but annoying. Sensatsu Shusho. Sakura gasped as her body was used as a pincushion, water senbon flying towards her. The girl collapsed, but then smiled weakly. This was all going to plan. The Konohinin was surprised as to how this was actually working, but if it was, then she wasn't going to question it. Haku flew back into his mirror dome, eyes narrowed. I will defeat you. Long way to go, Sakura commented, before seeing the step forwards of his left leg and substituted away, knowing that Haku was going to attack. The boy cursed when he saw Sakura disappear. But he accounted for that. He was faster than her, that he knew. Much faster. And so when he twisted round to throw more senbon, he was surprised to see Sakura already having her cloak blocking that side, so the needles bounced harmlessly off and she substituted away, out of harm's way. Left, right, left, center, left, behind, left, right. Haku's eyes widened. Is that me attack pattern? You bet, Sakura smiled before she tapped lightly on the dome. The ice cracked and the dome shattered on the top of the duo. Gomen, sensei. Doten. Doryo Dango. She tore out the earth, hauling a huge piece of it and smashed it against the shattering dome, also sandwiching Haku in the process. The boy just managed to escape but used up the remaining chakra he had left to substitute with a branch nearby. He huffed, his mask with a crack down the center of it. Sakura whirled around, a shuriken already thrown, nailing Haku's mask. I wish you didn't escape, Sakura muttered, because now I have to do jutsu against someone like you. Haku's mask fell off and you could see an angry look on his face. You, Hawarimi no jutsu. Sakura was saved by that as huge shards of ice burst from the ground, all aiming at her. Sakura gulped. Haku was supposed to run out of chakra and gain more. Why else did the ice dome shatter if not because of chakra exhaustion? And Haku stood there, frigid. Skin somehow darkened, Sakura couldn't see because of the mist, but it looked like some sort of fire pattern tattoo. The Nukenin raised a hand and thousands of water senbon raised with it and Haku's eyes snapped open and his wrist flicked. The water shot forwards and Sakura couldn't see anything to substitute with and so she mustered up more chakra but found she had none left. Freaking low reserves, Sakura hissed, pulling out 2 kunai. Fine. You little. She stopped talking, blocking most of the senbon aimed at her weak parts, but her legs and torso was embedded with more senbon. Really, Sakura wondered if her teammates and sensei could recognize her now, looking half dead and actually being able to stand up was a miracle. Sakura grunts, feeling her chakra flame almost extinguish, but forced more energy into it. If her teammates could do it, then she could. She didn't have a tailed beast, and she wasn't an Uchiha, but she was Sakura Haruno, and that was enough. Her flame grew to just enough for what she needed. Alright, she smiles, let's do this. Doten. Doryo Dango. Kakashi found Sakura first. Unconscious with a dead Haku underneath a huge boulder. She must have used her emergency twist. There was another one that had a surprising amount of ice underneath it. Slinging her gently over his shoulder so he wouldn't push in any of the senbon inside, the man limped towards where he sensed his 2 other students. The mist had cleared, as it was Zabuza's doing, and Kakashi easily spotted the 2 of them lying down at the entrance of the bridge. Naruto was chatting happily to Sasuke, who was nodding and humming as he tried to stay conscious. Boys, Kakashi walked over, placing Sakura down gently and sitting down himself. Good job. Wonderful. Sensei. Naruto exclaimed, sitting up. They were totally overpowered. Different. I know, Kakashi nods. I'll look into that. But on a good thought, I think I can get you promoted to Chunin soon. If you can fight like that. Really, Naruto beamed before looking down at Sasuke, who was nodding off. You hear that? We're gonna be Chunin when we go back. Sasuke mumbled, wincing as he sat up. Sensei. We all need medical attention. Kakashi looks down at Sakura. I wonder how she fought looking like a porcupine. Naruto, your arm is purple with poison, and Sasuke, I really need you to learn how to learn not to overuse that jutsu. You overused it too, Sasuke pointed out, your eye is still bleeding. That's different, Kakashi muttered. How do you tell a child that once you've gone through trauma, you get this thing called Mangekyo Sharingan, which is ridiculously overpowered, but when you use it, there's a chance you can go blind. Sensei Naruto paled. Someone was coming. Actually, more than one person. It was like a mob. The Jonin pinched the bridge of his nose. We have the worst luck in the world. Naruto, you can use your emergency. You have the most chakra, but if you can't, I'll deal with them. Naruto grinned, getting up. He swayed a bit. I'm fine, Dadabeo. Let's show those thugs who's boss. Don't. Naruto ran off. Overdo it. Sasuke snorts, settling back onto his back. He'll definitely overdo it. Of course, Kakashi sighed. Gyuden. Shinkuha. They waited. No more Naruto happened. Sasuke shot up onto his feet, wobbling slightly, ignored Kakashi's calls and limped forwards, eyes morphing back into his underdeveloped Sharingan, looking rapidly for a knucklehead ninja. And there he was, surrounded by more thugs, even if half of them were decapitated by his emergency jutsu. Kakashi sighs, knowing that adrenaline was the only thing keeping Sasuke on his feet. Sasuke, Kakashi held out a hand. Come here. Ichiha spun around, eyes wide with panic. But, I'm not going to stop you, Kakashi said impatiently, come here. Sasuke staggers over before placing his hand in Kakashi's. The Jonin wasted no time in transferring his chakra, which was a silvery white color, and gave the remains of it, which wasn't much, but contributed to keeping Sasuke on his feet to the genin. Sensei? Sasuke's eyes were wide. It's the chakra transfer technique, Kakashi dismissed it, something you'll learn later on. Now go help Naruto. Oh. Sasuke whirled around, Sharingan flashing, and the genin substituted with his teammate and formed his hand seals. Raiden. John. Naruto gaped as Sasuke's laser tore through the remaining thugs and left none alive. Team. The Jinchuriki ran forwards, but then thought better and substituted with a dead body and appeared next to Sasuke's unconscious body, which wavered on his feet and collapsed. You idiot, you were supposed to stay back. Taking Sasuke back to Kakashi, who was attending to his hand wound which was still bleeding rivers and Sakura was all bandaged up, the man was not surprised to see Naruto carrying Sasuke. You shouldn't tell him you carried, he'll be mad. I know, Naruto sits down. Is your hand okay, sensei? Is your arm okay? Kakashi replies, giving the genin a look. Naruto sighs and looks down at his purple turning brown arm. No it do we do. We see if my basic knowledge of medical ninjutsu can help or I get one of my old anbu medics to come. Kakashi looks up at the sky. Hopefully the former. None of the medics are that nice. They'll probably beat me up for taking genin on a C-turn-to-rank mission. A rank? Naruto muses. Oh. I mean, if they were all overpowered, they were definitely way more dangerous. Kakashi hums. Seems like I trained you right. Now, I'm gonna carry you all to Tazuna's house. Can you walk? That Naruto face planted into the ground, Kurama no longer supplying chakra and energy. Kakashi sighed, hauling the two boys over his shoulders and carried Sakura in his arms. Brats. He limped away, leaving a devastated area behind. The ground was torn into pieces, not to mention Sakura's upturned ground area and dead bodies littered the ground. Kakashi hoped Tazuna could forgive Sasuke for the gigantic laser slash through the bridge and Naruto for the huge wind cuts in the bridge too. Meh, they saved his life. You're kidding, Naruto's mouth fell open, we're still not done with this mission. You can go back, Kakashi offered, but I'm going to investigate how they got their extreme power boosts. The demon brothers don't have that kind of strength to muster up that ultimate jutsu of theirs. Nup, Naruto shook his head. Sakura nods slowly. We're going with you. Infiltration, right. Sasuke smirks. Let's do this. Hold on, Kakashi flicked their foreheads, none of you know anything about actually doing infiltration. Go, tell me. What do you need to have mastered before you go to some rich gang's lair? A map of inside. But try, brat. Kind of. Sometimes scrap that, most of the time you'll end up somewhere you don't know or don't have information on. Being able to blend into the background. Good, emo. Ooh, what about interrogating skills? Yes, but we don't have time to do that. What's the most obvious thing? Stealth. Exactly. Now since all three of you are injured, you'll be chakra meditating until I tell you to stop. Sit here in your room and do nothing but meditating. Once I get more rest and chakra, I'll heal the rest of your wounds. Sakura peered up. Sensei, what do you specialize in? You know so much. Kakashi I smiled. Me? Oh, I specialize in assassination. But that comes with a whole lot of other stuff and the people around me specialize in different things, so I just pick them up. Oh, that reminds me, think about what you want to specialize in. The three genin gaped at how casually he had said assassination and he waved while walking away to his own room. The three of them exchanged looks before sitting down in a circle and closing their eyes to meditate. But before they could, Naruto had a question. Shouldn't we kinda spread our specialized areas so we cover most of them? He asked. That would make it very efficient. We should study everything, Sasuke argues, opening his eyes. Sakura hummed. I agree with both of you. We can nail the basics of all of them, but then we specialize in different stuff. You know, let's decide. Naruto beamed. This isn't a decision to be made lightly, Sasuke reprimanded. Sakura grins. I want to do medical ninjutsu. The jutsu, Sasuke echoed. Ninjutsu? Naruto grinned. Sakura shakes her head. We can share that one. You and jutsu, Naruto thought for a moment before deciding on that one. Didn't sensei say that the Uzumaki were seal masters? I'm gonna become one, Dadabeo. And re-establish Uzushiogakure. What happened to becoming Hokage? Sasuke asked dryly. I'll do that too. Naruto grinned. Sakura shook her head. Boys. But can't we specialize in two? Or more? Those can come later, Sasuke hissed, we need to meditate or else sensei'll kill us. Right, Sakura nods. But all three of them were thinking as they meditated. They needed something that suited all of them. Thank Kami for their totally different personalities and chakra affinities, or else they'd probably break out in a fight to see who'd specialize in what. Recap right, Sakura nods. But all three of them were thinking as they meditated. They needed something that suited all of them. Thank Kami for their totally different personalities and chakra affinities, or else they'd probably break out in a fight to see who'd specialize in what. The tall figure stood up in the dark at about 1 am, wearing something he hasn't worn in front of his students before. The three smaller silhouettes peered up, looking up at their teacher. They said nothing, but waited for an answer. Kakashi tugged on his old anbu chest plate before nodding subtly, not looking back. Team 7 moves quickly, silently, using their chakra control to stick onto the outer walls of Gato's lair. It was a tall building built on top of an isolated island, surrounded by trees. It was just off the coast of the land of waves, barely visible to the naked eye when you stood on the beach. There were about 17 floors altogether, and the group was splitting up the floors. Sakura took the lower 5 floors to use her earth jutsus to their best ability. Then it was Sasuke who took the next 5 floors. Naruto took the next 5, and Kakashi took the top 2 as it took the longest to get up there, and because he wanted his students to do most of the work, to give them a taste of infiltration. Sasuke was the fastest to take up the silent movement during the first 3-4 days, but surprisingly, it was Sakura who was fastest at learning the silent killing. It was great that they had a whole week and a half to train in this. Naruto, unfortunately, was not suited for this, but was better than the other two at creating diversions, and so that's what they were doing. Naruto was to create a diversion and draw all attention to him, and then Sakura and Sasuke will enter. And then Kakashi will. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, commence operation. Naruto slipped into level 15, making sure to deliberately tip off the Windows alarm before rolling inside and easily taking out the guards, who weren't shinobi. The red alarm turned on, blaring through the whole building, alerting everyone, including the rest of Team 7, who were waiting patiently outside and next to a window. That's Konoha Anbu. A guard yelled. Naruto grinned under his fox mask. They were finally allowed to wear their uniforms and masks to protect their identities, and it felt good to be called one of Konoha's elite shinobi. Even if it was literally an assassination and tactics squad. He swung expertly around, dodging some person's pathetic attempt to nail him with arrows. Off bow and arrow. Naruto frowned as he knocked out the whole hallway within a minute. Did Kakashi know how to use the bow and arrow? Probably. He knew a lot. Once Naruto was inside for 2 minutes, clearing the 15th floor, Sakura and Sasuke exchanged glances along the side of the building before slipping in through their designated windows, careful not to set off their alarms. Sakura easily aimed her shurikens for the throat of all of the guards, finding that hers weren't shinobi either. Sasuke, however, was having a hard time getting all of them to shut up as his level was dedicated people their age, which Sasuke theorized was for them to train to be the next bodyguards for Gato. Sasuke couldn't exactly kill them, but he couldn't let them assist their elders, and so he proceeded to knock them out, which proved to be a nuisance and took up a lot of time. Just shut up, Sasuke grunts, whirling between them, knocking them out quickly, but left a girl who looked startling like Sakura, green eyes wide. You. Tell me where the bastard Gato is. The girl growled. Never. Do it. Sasuke pulled out a kunai. Now. No. Sasuke sighed. I'm asking nicely. Please tell me where the bastard Gato is. All he got was a rapid shake of her head and incoherent muttering. Sasuke grumbled, I won't kill you if you do. The girl was stubborn, which led to Sasuke knocking her out too, before using his chakra wires, which were coils that could be strengthened by its user's chakra, to bound the door and windows tightly so they couldn't get out before silently moving on to the next room. Kakashi really needed to teach them torture and interrogation. Kakashi was still waiting at the 4-minute mark, his mind whirling with the worst possibilities that could happen to his genin. But he trusted them. This wasn't too bad, and his clone had only reported Zabuza and his team as the only hired Nukenin. He just hoped his clone was right. And it was 7 minutes. Time for the master of infiltration and assassinate to enter the plan. Kakashi slipped into the top level, slinking in and out of the shadows, bypassing 4 elite guards easily. How did he know they were elite? They had the letters ELIT etched on their chest plates and killed them silently, not even their bodies falling to the ground with a thump. Kakashi had used his white chakra saber senbon, nailing them quickly in the neck. He winced as he needed to throw 3 to kill 1 guard. He was really losing his touch. He needed to train and maybe adopt a little of his team's thought process of must get stronger or else I'm not working hard enough. Unfortunately, the 17th floor was empty all, except for shipping cargo of drugs and tobacco. Oh, and don't forget alcohol. Freaking bastards, Kakashi mutters, pinching his nose as he placed seals around the rooms. Illegal shipping, and what the hell is this? Where did they get Proxinia from? Proxinia was the infamous drug at the center of Kakashi's first and largest drug case. It could give people hormones for 10 days after 1 dose, as well as give them characteristics of any animal they like, as long as they had the DNA. And it was long out of produce, now being banned in all nations. It could kill people who were addicted, especially those using it for a long time. Kakashi barely remembered being injected with it for this one time, and it made him feel like God. Not to mention he had a wolf's DNA, earning him the nickname of Pup in his very first Anbu team. Well, Kakashi activated the seals, no one's putting a hand on them now. The seal was used so someone without Kakashi's chakra signature couldn't walk into the area within the seals, and that was the whole room. If they did, Kakashi would be instantly alerted and they would be paralyzed. Ah, the wonderful inventions of Kushina Uzumaki. Walking out of the room silently, the ex-Anbu captain raided the other rooms, no longer even counting how many people he had killed. Room 1 had proxenia, room 2 also had proxenia, room 3 had the highest priced tobacco, and room 4 had at least 2 decades old of whiskey. Kakashi stood at the top of the staircase, looking down. Where the hell did they get all this good stuff? He could barely see down the pitch-dark staircase, but the red alarms from Naruto's level was painfully obvious. Kakashi chuckled as he heard Naruto's footsteps speed down the stairs, followed by the boys yelling taunts and the rest of the guards clambering to follow him. "Boy, come and get me, you insufferable set of nagging children who can't do a single freaking toddler thing." Kakashi winced. He also needed to work on taunts. But it worked, and Kakashi was easily able to blend in his footsteps with the ones downstairs. Arriving at the 16th level, he wasn't surprised to see the door locked firmly shut due to Naruto's distraction, and easily knocked it down with a good chakra kick. "Intruder." Kakashi smiled. He was the only one not wearing the Anbu mask or cloak. His cloak was the Jonin designed one, black, and was just used to cover the back, and his mask was his usual one to cover up the lower half of his face. There was no point in protecting his identity. In the bingo book, he's labeled as Hound Copy Ninja as an S-rank assassin, with his profile picture being a blurred one, with the only visible is his signature gravity-defying hair. And you can't get rid of the hair. Nope, Kakashi will murder whoever wants to put a wig on him or get him to dye his hair. "Hi," Kakashi waves, before appearing beside the first 2 guards and slicing their necks open without so much of a warning, dodging the slowest attacks Kakashi has ever seen from bodyguards actually. He remembered that time he was sent to assassinate the Fire Daimyo's second cousin thrice removed. Her bodyguards were just lazy asses and killed all 9 guards in a flash. He clapped his hands together, admiring his work, before kicking down a particularly fancy door. Nothing was inside. Nothing alive. Well, Kakashi didn't think it were alive. The Jonin steps inside, seeing something rather familiar. It was a simply table in the center of the room, a desk to the left corner, and a bed to the right corner. On the table, there was a body, covered with white sheets. Taking a moment to check the pulse of the body, Kakashi narrowed his eyes. Dead. But reflexes, a voice drawled. Kakashi had dodged almost inhumanely fast, barely surviving an attack. A sword was thrown with so much force that the table split in half and shattered. Kakashi wasn't surprised, even if the table was made out of stone. Because opposite him, in the doorway, looking so freaking casual despite Kakashi being Konoha top ninja, was Kakashi ducked and twisted in the air, snakes shooting out and attempting to bite him. "Orochimaru," the snake Sannin. Asked, Orochimaru muses, "Have I underestimated you? You certainly have grown, haddock pup." Kakashi doesn't react to the nickname. "Aw, thanks. Now I'd like to know why you, a renowned Nukenin, is doing here, in the land of waves." Orochimaru smiles slyly. "Isn't that what you do if you're bored? Pick a fight somewhere else where no one'll know." "No." Kakashi looks at the Sannin blankly. "I'd go talk to Guy. He certainly makes my life a whole lot more interesting." Orochimaru barks out a laugh before his emotions sober and he approaches Kakashi slowly. The Konoha stands there, looking casual, but both men knew that the other was definitely on their guard and wouldn't hesitate to strike. It was obvious, some time ago, that Orochimaru was stronger. But now the Sannin looks the son of the White Fang in the eye and sees a much stronger man and is definitely not going to let down his guard around the ex-Anbu captain. "Have you been experimenting again?" Kakashi asks offhandedly. Orochimaru glares at him pleasantly. "None of your business." "Well?" Kakashi smiled. "You want to tell me something, don't you?" Orochimaru sneers. "I have a message for the Sandame. Tell him to keep an eye out for his safety." "The Sandame?" Kakashi levels Orochimaru's cold glare with his own, and after years of being in the Anbu, he's perfected that glare. "I'm sorry, why don't you tell him yourself?" "Scared." "Oh, just to keep the sense of mystery and I like using you as a pawn." Orochimaru smirks before walking past Kakashi and opening the window. "I'll best be going. I do hope you did like the Mamachi entertainment I supplied. Was that enough to boost your little cute genin team?" Kakashi snorts, throwing a kunai. "I'm the only one who gets to call them cute." Orochimaru barely catches it, blood trickling down the ex-Konohanin's fingers. "Very well." Kakashi knew he couldn't pursue the Sannin. There was a whole lot of risks with just holding a conversation with the traitor, not to mention he had a genin team downstairs infiltrating Gato turned Orochimaru's lair. Kakashi needed to get them out, and fast. Orochimaru turned around to leave, narrowing his eyes. "I'll leave this," he drops the kunai, wiping the blade clean using his purple robes, before disappearing out of the room. Kakashi wonders if the 16th floor is high enough of a fall to fatally wound the Sannin, but snorts. This was Orochimaru they were talking about. Power-hungry little self-centered bitch. Exiting the room, but not before also sealing that room, Kakashi walks out, not caring about his loud footsteps. He needed to get the rest of the 16th floor cleared before checking up on his genin. Speeding through the floor, Kakashi found nothing but more drugs. Now how they got Cetus was a complete mystery and needed be looked into, and found himself close to running out of seals. He really didn't want to draw them on manually with chakra. Brat, Kakashi shunshined to Sakura's side to find her lounging on the 5th floor while filing her nails with a kunai. Sakura looked up. "Sensei. Levels 1 to 5 are clear." "I can tell," Kakashi said dryly. "Now, let's head up." "Hi." Sakura stood up, looking unrecognizable with her hood and mask on. The two of them walked silently up the stairs, passing the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th floor. There was Sasuke on level 10, swiftly breaking the neck of the last guard. Kakashi nods slowly. "You had the most to take care of." Sasuke sighed, standing up slowly. "I know. There was way more than normal, even more than dope, probably. Maybe he walked into a trap and they went down to check on the kids." "Kids?" Sakura asked. Sasuke jerked his head backwards. "Second last door. Room full of people our age." "Really?" Kakashi mused. "There's a lot of shady things going on inside of here. Proxenia, Cetus, tobacco, alcohol, traitor, and now kids." Sasuke simply shrugs, walking over to stand by Kakashi and Sakura. "I have no idea what's going on." "Ado not here?" Kakashi asked, changing the subject. Sasuke shook his head. "Must have been on Naruto's levels," Sakura says, just before the floor above them crashed open and a Naruto strangling Gato burst through the floor. Again, Gato's skin was patterned with black tattoos, like the one Sakura saw on Haku. Naruto snarled, obviously concentrating. "Freaking bastard." Kakashi threw Naruto off Gato, tossing his student out of the way. "The cursed seal of heaven. Back off, he should have known." "The what of what?" Naruto gasped for breath, leaning heavily on Sasuke and Sakura, who had been on the receiving side of Kakashi's toss. "Anko Mitarashi has it," Kakashi says casually as he fights against stage 2, cringing in disgust as Gato grew limb-like wings. All Jonin have been briefed as to what to do when she goes out of control. "It's a cursed seal." Kakashi cut himself off to deliver a chakra-infused punch into Gato's abdomen. Created by Orochimaru, to give his subjects he dodged Gato's swinging attack. More power but gives him more control over them. Kakashi huffs, delivering a powerful kick to Gato's face, completely knocking out the man. But it's not effective on civis, the people who know nothing about power, chakra and taijutsu. His three students gape. Naruto gulped. "You just gave us a lecture on that seal while fighting against Orochimaru's subordinate." "Play toy," Kakashi corrected. "If it was actually Orochimaru's subordinate, I might have to get serious like when I fought Zabuza." Sakura then remembered. "Sensei. Haku also had a mark like that." "Of course," Kakashi growled, "entertainment. That's why power-ups work." That wretched little Kakashi sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose. "Let's go. The land of waves'll clean this up if we give Tazuna the details and he brings it to the daimyo." "Hi," the three genin bow, before turning to each other, knowing they all had a smile on their faces. Their first infiltration mission was a success. Azuna, Tsunami and Inari all waiting impatiently for the shinobi to return. They had left the earlier night at 7 p.m. to walk across the water to get to Gato's island. As it was quite a far way for beginners to walk on water, Kakashi had planned for them to leave early. At least it was winter, so it was already pitch black at 7, so they could rest inside the surrounding forest. And now it was 7 p.m. again, an exact 24 hours later. "Are they?" Inari wiped at his eyes. "I'm not crying. Are they going to come back?" "I hope." Tsunami kisses her son's forehead. "PFFT," Tazuna sounded unsure himself, "obviously they will. They're doing so much for us," Tsunami whispered, patting Inari's head. "How will we repay them?" "You don't need to, Tsunami-san." Naruto chirped, walking out of the mist with a bright smile. "We're back. Have you been crying, Inari?" "And no." Inari protested, but then ran forwards to give Naruto a hug. Thanks for dealing with Gato." "You mean this old lump here?" Sakura groaned, throwing Gato down on the ground. "I had to lug him on the water. We split up a distance," Sasuke reminded her. "And when we weren't lugging him, we got to sit in the boat." Kakashi smiled. "Well, I hope you're all alright." "Yes, we are." Tsunami bowed as low as she could. "Arigato. Thanks you so much. Gato has been terrorizing this place for a long time now and you've dealt with him." Kakashi was about to say that he only did it because Gato was involved with other shinobi, but thought again and went against that. It wasn't a good idea to make Tsunami mad or feel lower than a shinobi. Ma, we didn't really do anything. Sorry, but we have to leave early. We've stayed long enough and I need to get these three brats into tip-top shape for the Chunin exams. Azuna grunts. About time you left. Thanks. And goodbye. Tsunami chuckled. He's a sour old man, but he's grateful. Are you sure you don't want to stay a little longer? I don't want to impose, Kakashi replied. Take Gato to the daimyo, she'll find some sort of solution. I've heard Katsumi Chikilu is good at her job. Takilu-sama is, Tsunami agreed. And once more, thank you. Kakashi nods before turning to his genin. Oi brats, let's go. You're leaving, Inari gasped. I'll remember to visit. Naruto promised, ruffling the younger boy's hair. Inari gulped back his tears. You better. Let's go, dope. Sasuke nudged his teammate and the genin and jonin depart for Konoha. Along the way, the three of them also had to do some training. But first, Kakashi wanted to know their specialities. The three genin were still deciding on the smaller, refined categories, but had a good think about it and knew what they wanted. Sakura went first. Medical ninjutsu and jinjutsu, sensei. Kakashi hums. Very good choice. Suited for your long-range attacks and explicit chakra control. Sakura beamed. Arigato. I was thinking more Kenjutsu and Dojutsu, Sasuke offered, running a hand through his hair. The Sharingan is really helpful, but it drains a lot of energy. Kenjutsu, Naruto gasped. Forbidden techniques, we didn't talk about that. I thought you were going to specialize in whatever its name is, the weapons want to stab people and skewer them with stuff like swords. That is Kenjutsu, Kakashi deadpans, Kenjutsu is forbidden techniques. Oh. Naruto cocked his head sideways, kicking a rock on the road. Really? It sounds the same to me. It is similar, Sakura nods. Then what about you, Naruto? Kakashi inquired. Naruto grinned. I'm going to focus on Fuinjutsu and Sensory, Databeo. Kakashi eye smiles. All of you have picked good categories for yourselves and it helps that it's different to each other. Now I obviously can't teach you all of them, but I can get you some good tutors. I'll teach you all the basics, but the problem is when you guys get to the advanced stage. Sakura, for Jinjutsu, I can bribe Kurenai to teach you some advanced stuff when the time comes. Medical ninjutsu that I need to think about. Naruto, Fuinjutsu. I can teach you Uzumaki seals, but to find an advanced tutor something else to think about. Sensory, I'll get that one favor Yugao owes me. Next. Sasuke. I'm the only one who can teach you Dojutsu, even if I'm not an Uchiha. For Kenjutsu, I'll ask Yugao to ask Kate. There. Who and who? Naruto sighed. Whatever. I trust you, sensei. Kakashi ruffled his student's hair. I want you all to do a handstand. This is for endurance training. All of them complied. And have fun walking in them all the way back. What but sensei? Lesson 1, Sasuke said tiredly through Sakura's words. Sakura shook her head but almost lost her balance. Can we use chakra? Lesson 14, Kakashi reminded her, there are loopholes in rules. Exploit them. Did I ever say that you weren't allowed to use chakra? I just want you three to do handstands and stay in that form until we reach the gates of Konoha. Alrighty. Naruto grinned. Let's do this. Sasuke and Sakura both simultaneously let out a sigh but smiled a little as well. Naruto and his never-ending cheerfulness and excitement. Hiruzen was currently thinking that he was too old for this. You're saying, the Sandaime said slowly, that you took your genin team which you've only had for a total of about 4 weeks to the Land of Waves, encountered Zabuza Mamachi and his team, killed him and his team, infiltrated one of the Land of Waves' largest crime dealers' lair, ran into Orochimaru the traitor Sannin as well, and came out unscathed. Kakashi shrugged. I wouldn't say unscathed, they had their first kill on this mission. Oh, and almost died too. Not to mention it was C turn to rank. S rank, the Hokage corrected. Running into Orochimaru and Zabuza Mamachi is no small thing. Well, it was just me really. I dealt with them both, Kakashi mused, but then added, they didn't even see Orochimaru, not did he actually put up a fight. Hiruzen sighed, pinching his nose. Naruto pouted. Stop talking like we're not here. You aren't. Kakashi turned around to give them an eye smile. Officially. Very well. Hiruzen stood up. I, Hiruzen Sarutobi, use my authority as the Sandaime Hokage to promote Team 7 lead by Kakashi Haddock to Chunin level, for being able to remain calm in panicking situations, and being back to hold their own against high-ranking Nukenin, and still coming back. The three genin blinked. Naruto opened his mouth. So we're officially Chunin. Kind of. Hiruzen smiled. There's another thing I need you to do before you're officially promoted. Sasuke mused. And what's that, Hokage-sama? The Sandaime chuckled. The Uchiha really did remind him of Kakashi, Naruto of Obito, and Sakura of an extreme version of Rin. Enter the Chunin exams. Sakura smiled. Chunin in the Chunin exams. Exactly, Hiruzen sighed, wishing he had his pipe but didn't want to smoke in front of these children. I think you know about the rumors of Atagakure and Sunagakure teaming up together to invade Konoha during the Chunin exams. Sasuke asked. Yes. Sensei told us. Hiruzen chuckled. You never miss a thing, Kakashi. Kakashi shrugged. I want you to keep an eye on the Sunanin and the Odo-nin. Actually, I want you to keep an eye on them all. Konoha-nin included, the Hokage said sternly. There is a high chance we have a traitor amongst us and it would make sense for them to enter the Chunin exams. Naruto looks at him blankly. I didn't understand a thing. So we're pretty much going to enter the exam to spy on everyone? Like everyone? Correct. Hiruzen smiled. How could he forgot about Naruto's personality? It was probably the uniform. Damn Kakashi and his smart little ideas that can change a whole lot of things. Including how Naruto stands with his straight posture, it seems. Before we leave, Kakashi said, I'd like to know if my tutoring ideas are okay. With me or them. The Sandaime straightened to look up at the tall Jonin. Kakashi nods his head. All. I think it's fine, the Sandaime nods, so Kurenai, Guy, Yugao, Hate. And maybe Genma. And Jiraiya and Tsunade. I'm more worried about Kurenai and Jiraiya and Tsunade. Kakashi shrugs. The Hokage smiles. I'll get you their details. Don't bother with Yugao, Hate and Genma. Kakashi grins under his mask. They owe me a couple of favors. And Hokage-sama. Kakashi's hands flashed in Anbu sign language, conveying a message that the Genin now Chunin couldn't understand. Orochimaru had a warning for you to keep an eye out on your safety. The Sandaime nods, face grave. Dismissed. Kakashi Haddock, 009720, Jonin. Sakura Haruno, 012601, Chunin. Sasuke Uchiha, 012606, Chunin. Naruto Uzumaki, 012607, G Chunin, Databeo. Hiruzen chuckled as Team 7 left, hearing Kakashi's announcement of learning the basics of each jutsu category after some combat training and the children's sounds of excitement. The least the Sandaime could do for Kakashi was get him the teachers he needed, since he was the one who pressured the Jonin into creating a genius team. Flipping through his files, he found the latest contact details for his other two students, Jiraiya and Tsunade. It took a while of rummaging, mostly because it was protected with traps and other protective measures. Jiraiya was last seen in a Megacure and Tsunade was gambling away in some small city on the edge of the Land of Fire. Interesting. Combining those two files and closing with the newest poster of Icha, Hiruzen gave it to an Anbu operative, knowing that she wouldn't open it. Give this to Kakashi Haddock, he orders. Hi, Hokage-sama. As the green-haired woman arrives at Training Ground 3, she was surprised to see Sasuke and Sakura going full out on a ninjutsu battle and Naruto was continuously summoning clones, one at a time. There was about a whole crowd of Narutos and their job was to remain as still as possible in the positions Kakashi gave them. Hound-sama, the Anbu woman bowed, holding out the file. From Hokage-sama. Thanks, Kakashi nods gratefully, taking it and nonchalantly opening it. He grins when he sees what's inside. And can you please tell the whole Anbu department to stop calling me Hound? I've retired, geez. The woman smiled under her mouse mask. I cannot do that, Hound-sama. You never truly retire from Anbu, sir. Kakashi sighs. Alright, whatever. Dismissed. The woman nods, sunshining away. Sasuke huffs, jumping out of the way of Sakura's rock attack. You're part of the Anbu? Was, Kakashi nods. Ages ago. Oi, you two. Stop. That's enough. Brat, come here. Sakura walked over, confused. Happy late birthday, Kakashi smiles warmly, passing her Tsunade's file. Sakura was stunned before looking down at the file slowly. She opened the cover and her mouth fell wide open at Tsunade's profile picture. I did tell you I'd think about your medical nin tutor, right? Birthday? Naruto walked over. Was it your birthday? Sakura nods. It was. A weekish ago. The day you did silent killing, Kakashi supplied. And that's your gift. Happy birthday, Sasuke said, walking over. I'll get you something tomorrow. Sakura panicked. You don't have to. It's just my birthday. I'll get you something too. Naruto grinned. We did get our share of the mission money, remember? Not to mention the Land of Waves daimyo was nice enough to quadruple our price because of Gato. Team and I'll get you something you'll love, Databeo. Kakashi smiled. Well, that's nice. Back to training. Naruto groaned before putting his hands together to create more clones. Sasuke turns to Sakura only to see her slam her hand on the ground and trap him in the turning rocks. The Uchiha smirked before he disappeared in a poof of smoke, having been a clone. Sakura lets out an annoyed huff but manages to leap out of the way of Sasuke's fireball. Now this was called training. Sakura was slowly catching up in terms of Taijutsu and Naruto's control is getting better. Sasuke was learning to be more social with his teammates, as proved by the fact that he offered to buy Sakura a gift. Kakashi smiled. This was great. The training was coming along and the council got their results. They even got to Chunin, albeit it took longer than they wanted, but seriously, 2 weeks isn't enough time. What if Kakashi trains Team 7 like Anbu Sasuke bashing? Thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel and leave a like if you guys need the next part, comment down, and thanks for watching the video and see you guys in the next video.